Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I welcome you all here, and I appreciate your patience. We are doing a few housekeeping things to try to accommodate what is clearly an overflow crowd. So we are opening up the refectory and ensuring that there will at least be audio over there. And what we will do, just so that you are aware of a couple of these things that will happen in front of you, there is a large number of students here representing 3 schools. We will allow those young people and their principal to speak first at the top of the meeting. They will then leave, and that will open up additional space inside the gymnasium for others who wish to take their place. So that's one of the things that would happen. As a housekeeping matter, I want to be sure that if there are people who need the services of a sign language interpreter, that they are clearly within sight of the interpreter who is here on the stage. So if you need the services of a sign language interpreter, or if someone with you obviously needs that, please make sure that you are conveniently positioned in that way. I am Avis Lavelle. I'm the Vice President of the Park District Board of Commissioners. As our Park Board President, Brian Traubert, has recused himself from involvement in this matter at hand, I am the board's point person. We are here today for a public hearing of the Chicago Park District Board of Commissioners. I am joined by fellow commissioners Don Edwards and Tim King, as well as Parks General Superintendent Mike Kelly. This is not a meeting of the Parks Board. We will not be taking a vote after this. What we are doing is seeking input from the public on a matter that may potentially come before the board that has to do with conveying a parcel of park land that may potentially be the home of the Obama Presidential Library Center. These meetings, I repeat, are not a Park District Board, and we don't have a quorum of the board. No action will be taken by the board as a result of these meetings. My fellow commissioners may need to leave early because we do have a regularly scheduled meeting at 3:30 this afternoon. So if they depart, please do not infer that that means that they are disinterested. They are simply going downtown to handle their business on Park District matters. I will stay behind, as will Superintendent Kelly. We are at the start of a public process that begins with the question of, do we want to see the Obama Presidential Library Center in Chicago? And I would think to that, the majority of people here would answer yes. The location of the library center, the design of the center, the community benefits, how would it operate, what would it do for the city? These are all issues yet to be addressed. They would be addressed after a decision is made. Some of these critical questions are not ones that we here in Chicago will be able to address at all, because those decisions will not be made by us. Others are issues that we can and will influence, and it is our duty to ensure that the interest of Chicagoans and the impacted communities and the city as a whole are protected and enhanced if a Chicago site is chosen. I think it's important to remember, and I want to emphasize that, a reminder to all, there are 3 potential sites in Chicago for this Obama Presidential Center. The city has ruled out a 4th site. These sites were selected by the Obama Presidential Foundation from among 24 or so sites initially proposed in Chicago. I think that's worth repeating. These 3 sites, the finalist sites, were selected from among 20 that were initially proposed. Our civic goal is to do all that we can to ensure that we bring the Obama Presidential Library back to his hometown. We cannot presume what site the Obama Foundation will ultimately choose, but we do want to do all we can to help tilt that decision in favor of Chicago at the end of the day. We are seeking public input on potentially siting the Obama Presidential Center on either of 2 parcels of land owned by the Chicago Park District. One of the proposed sites is at the perimeter of Washington Park and the other in Jackson Park. The Obama Foundation has clearly stated its preference that the 2 South Side sites it favors be land under the City of Chicago control. The public input here today gives us, as a park district, a perspective on how the proposed sites would be received by their neighbors and by the city at large. Our role as the Chicago Park District is to ensure that park land is used to the enhancement of the communities it is designed to serve. In most cases, that represents green space, but not always. There are multiple precedents in Chicago of cultural institutions that exist on parkland to the great benefit of Chicagoans and the world beyond. Our goal is to ensure that should either the Washington Park or Jackson Park site be selected by the Presidential Foundation, that the interests of the surrounding communities are protected and that the park itself and the city of Chicago are enhanced by the use of the site. And finally, and most importantly, that the Park District retain possession of the land if at any point in the future the Obama Library would be decommissioned. There will be a brief presentation from Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill Architects to more clearly define the parcels of land that are being proposed for use, and then we'll open the meeting to testimony from interested parties. I would like to reiterate a couple things, though. We're here to discuss only 2 of the 3 potential Chicago sites that might encompass parkland, not to promote other sites that you feel should be considered. I respectfully say to you, that ship has sailed. Only 3 potential Chicago sites remain. All others have been ruled out by the Obama Foundation. The decision on siting will not be determined by the City of Chicago or the Chicago Park District. The siting decision rests with the President of the United States, the First Lady, and the Obama Foundation. As to the process here today, you can see that this is really an issue in which there is tremendous interest. So I would really like to request that you respect each other and respect the process. I request that each speaker confine his or her comments to 2 minutes. I'd also ask that those groups and organizations represented by multiple members come up as a group, if at all possible, but elect 1 person to speak for the 2-minute comment period. And this I suggest as a way so that we can hear a wide variety of views of individuals and groups. I also would reserve the right to ensure that our discussion here is germane to the issues at hand and not other issues that you may have with other parties that are involved in this. A lot of your issues have tremendous merit. They really do. And I am sure that you would find support for these issues among members of this group. But the people who came here today came to discuss the potential siting of this presidential library. And so to the extent that you deviate from that by talking about other issues, however much merit they may have, really takes away from our ability to hear a wide range of views on this particular issue. So we will start with a brief presentation from U of C through their planner, Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill.
Does someone have the slide?
Maybe. Looks like it.
Is that it?
Are we in the way? I guess so.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Derek Douglas, Vice President for Civic Engagement at the University of Chicago. And on behalf of the university and the many community partners we have collaborated with throughout this process, I want to thank the Chicago Park District and the City of Chicago for this opportunity to share important information about the effort to bring the Barack Obama Presidential Center to the south side of Chicago. At the outset, I wanted to provide some background information on what a presidential library is. A presidential library has 3 parts. There's the museum, which contains the artifacts from the presidency, a library, which contains the archives and the papers of the president. Both of those are run by the National Archives and Records Administration, which is part of the federal government. The third piece is an independent presidential foundation, which is responsible for raising the money for building the library and turning it over to the federal government. The foundation is also usually where the President and First Lady conduct their post-presidential work. The University of Chicago will not own or operate parkland or the Presidential Library. On the contrary, the university is offering land that it owns as part of the proposal. Any parkland that the City of Chicago makes available for the library will remain a public asset. The Presidential Center and Library represents a unique and historic opportunity for our city, particularly for the South Side, the place the President and First Lady call home. This will be the first truly urban presidential library, which means it will have greater impact on economic development, culture, and education than any presidential library before it. It will also touch many more people, especially local residents. We want these economic, cultural, and educational benefits for Chicago and for the South Side. Our youth in particular would be inspired by this library, which will pay tribute to a president who lived, worked, and began his political career in the same communities where they live, play, and go to school. Over the past year, we have been working to ensure that the South Side effort is a collaborative one that reflects input from the local community and the city. We have talked with hundreds of individuals and groups in more than 150 meetings, as well as with our local electeds and representatives from the city and the Barack Obama Foundation. The feedback we received from the community has been hugely important in shaping the sites we propose to the foundation. Community members told us the Presidential Center should go in a neighborhood where it can bring the most economic benefit. That led us away from university-owned property in Hyde Park, which is where the bulk of the university's land is. We also heard from the community that it was important that current residents not be displaced by the library, but rather that they should benefit from the library. While there are vacant lots in Woodlawn and Washington Park, there is not a 20 to 30 acre parcel of contiguous land to house the Presidential Center campus. Over the course of the past year, our conversations with the community and the foundation included the discussion of more than a dozen potential locations for the Presidential Library. However, as we have progressed through the process, the foundation has expressed strongest interest in two particular sites, one in the Washington Park neighborhood, which includes land owned by the university, and the other in Woodlawn. Thus, to be clear, the reason the two Southside sites that we are discussing today are finalists in this process is because that is the direct feedback we got from the Obama Foundation. The university and the city did not select these sites to be the finalists. The Obama Foundation did. Locating the Obama Presidential Center in either Washington Park or Woodlawn would drive major investments and growth, providing an unprecedented boost to the economy on the South Side. Last year, we commissioned an independent firm to analyze the library's potential economic impact. They found that the library would result in direct investment of about $600 million, draw 800,000 annual visitors to the South Side, create nearly 3,300 local construction jobs, create 1,900 new permanent local jobs through the library, the museum, and the creation of new businesses, help to create at least 40 new stores, restaurants, and a hotel in neighborhoods near the library, have an annual economic impact of at least $220 million a year, increase local earnings by $56 million a year, and increase tax revenue for the city and Chicago Public Schools by $3 million a year. In a word, it would be transformative for our community. Along with these economic benefits, the Obama Presidential Center would bring a major new cultural offering to the South Side. It would enhance local cultural organizations and create educational experiences for our young people. The Presidential Center would become a jewel in the Museum Campus South network, which includes the Museum of Science and Industry, the DuSable Museum of African American History, and other South Side cultural institutions. As a new destination for school children across the city and for visitors from around the world, the Presidential Center would draw from and enhance traffic to these strong institutions, bringing a much-needed boost in tourism to the area. We've talked to various civic and community organizations, including museums, nonprofits, and other universities, and they have presented a wealth of ideas for programmatic collaborations with the Presidential Center. These ideas include providing new programming for local schools in areas such as science, technology, engineering, and math, enhancing the work of local nonprofits serving youth through free tutoring, nutrition education, and recreation, exploring ways to offer new opportunities for a range of community residents, such as through urban agriculture, workforce training, and options for ex-offenders. These and other ideas support the priorities of the President and the First Lady in critical areas including education, health, and economic development. So in closing, the Barack Obama Presidential Center offers a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the city of Chicago and our local communities. We owe it to future generations to do all we can to ensure that this opportunity is fulfilled. Chicago is competing with New York and Hawaii for the library, and the final decision on where to locate it will be up to the President and the First Lady and their family. The University of Chicago wants to support whatever Chicago location the President and the First Lady choose to honor the legacy of their work. We also want to solidify a proposal that makes it most likely that they will select the library on the south side of Chicago. We believe either of the proposed sites in Washington Park and Woodlawn would accomplish this. With that, I would now like to ask Phil Enquist of Skidmore, Owings & Merrill to provide more detail on the two proposed sites.
Good afternoon. I'm going to take 5 minutes and walk you through 9 slides that will show you these sites that are proposed and why we think they are so important to this presidential center, the Southside communities, the park system, the city as a whole, and the nation. As Derek noted, we are responding to the Barack Obama Foundation's request that we put forward our best possible sites for the Presidential Center. We want to make it clear to the foundation to choose Chicago and specifically the South Side. The image you see on the screen shows the two sites in context with the surrounding neighborhoods and the historic Olmsted parks. It highlights that this will be the first urban presidential library engaging directly with and creating opportunities for the neighboring communities and the parks. We know the President and First Lady are deeply interested and committed to health, education, culture, food, and the restoration of the environment. These sites can directly support the kinds of programs we can imagine being developed at the Presidential Center. Locating the Obama Presidential Center in one of these great historic parks can provide a remarkable opportunity for a remarkable partnership. Think of how this center can activate these parks. So this diagram shows the center within Jackson Park along Stony Island and in Washington Park along King Drive at the intersection with Garfield Boulevard. The Washington Park site also includes a parcel of university and city-owned land that is across the street to the west of King Drive that includes also the CTA 55th Street Green Line Station. The foundation could also choose to build the center on this land as well. The Presidential Center will spark programming that will help to activate the entire park system and invite the world to visit, as this park system has done in the past with the Columbian Exposition. The Presidential Center can potentially become a gateway, possibly even an international visitor center into this historic Chicago park system. At this stage, we don't yet know the number of buildings, the design of the buildings, where they will be located, or exactly how much space they will occupy. This slide offers a diagram, a closer look at the likely scale of the buildings in relationship to the site area that's being defined within each park. So on the right is the Jackson Park site defined by Stony Island, Hayes, and Cornell Avenue, and on the left is the Washington Park site defined by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, Ellsworth Drive, Garfield Boulevard, 54th Street, and Prairie Avenue, because it does include the CTA Green Line Station. The Washington Park site does not touch or impact the Diet School. This was a question last night, so we wanted to respond to that. The Presidential Center and the Diet School could certainly partner in a remarkable way. Now, to give you an idea of benchmarking with other presidential libraries, we thought this might be helpful. So you can see the Lyndon B. Johnson Library on the far left. The site is 30 acres in size. The building is only 4 acres in size. The rest are gardens, public gardens. The Jimmy Carter Library and Museum, the site is similar. It's 35 acres. Building is 2.5 acres. The William Clinton Library and Museum site is 38 acres, building 2 acres. The George W. Bush Library site, 23 acres. The building footprint is 3 acres. Now, this presidential center may be very different, but we thought these were good benchmarks to give you a sense of how much building could be in the park, which is really around a 3-acre size. Chicago is, as you all know, the center of the country, and these sites are in a center of a very active transportation network. Because of this urban location, experts are estimating the library will see about 800,000 visitors a year. Getting to the presidential library by public transit is really critical. The Washington Park site is adjacent to the CTA Green Line 55th Street station, which really underlines how this could be an urban presidential center. The Jackson Park site is adjacent to the Metro Electric Line 59th 60th Street station and also close to the 63rd Street station. Station improvements will also help bring more people to the park system and connect the South Side in an easier, more convenient way than today into downtown. In addition, these sites are easy for visitors to access by car via the Dan Ryan, Lakeshore Drive, Garfield Boulevard, Stony Island Avenue, Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. Both of these sites are critical crossroads in the city, and both of them are very important gateways. They also link well to the international airports. Visitors will provide growth for local businesses, enlivening the commercial corridors. We have some very strong historic commercial corridors here. The Washington Park site will enliven Garfield Boulevard. The Jackson Park site will enliven Stony Island Avenue and 63rd Street. These two sites are located among a number of great educational institutions. The Presidential Center would partner with these schools and others across the city to expand and enrich educational programming. The last slide I want to show, I think, is really an important one. Both potential sites would also complement a growing number of cultural organizations on the South Side. This slide indicates the cultural institutions that are located in or near the Jackson Park and Washington Park sites. And you can see the library presidential center would strengthen this ribbon, this cultural ribbon of assets. A Southside Museum campus is forming. The presidential center would add strength to that idea as well. In summary, and speaking very personally, there's a power and a global significance to these two park sites that make them appropriate ground upon which to set this historically unique American president's enduring footprint. Thank you.
All right, we're about to begin the public hearing. If you wish to speak, then if you still have a comment card in your possession, please hold that card up and it will be picked up by a representative from the Chicago Park District. We have our young people here for this exercise in democracy. I am going to exercise a point of personal privilege and ask the high school students to come up first so that they can then speak and they can get back to school, and we can have space in here for people who are now in the overflow areas. So may we have our high school representatives come up, please.
Ms. Keela Sanders. You can go.
Hello there.
Hello.
Morning.
My name is Kiela Sanders. I attend Washington Park CICS, and we want the library in Washington Park, and here's why. We think that the presidential rally is a great idea. It'll cause significant changes for the better in this community because people will have jobs and youth will have a positive place to go and express themselves. It could possibly lower arrest rates in this community because our young men will have a learning environment and can get off the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next high school representative.
Ms. Amber Washington.
Good afternoon. My name is Amber Washington, and I'm a 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher at CICS Basel, K through 8. I am so honored to be here today to be able to say that this is an outstanding opportunity for our students to have even more history here in their home and their communities. This would be an amazing opportunity for our students within footsteps to be able to learn more about the history and actually learn how they can be a part of history. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last representative.
Our next speaker, Ms. Stacy Shell, the principal of Chicago Charter School.
Hello, my name is Stacy Shells. I'm actually the managing director for CICS Washington Park and CICS Basel. And we are here today because we are on the path to college. We are on the path to college. Many people today will talk to you about the commerce and the business opportunities, but I am here to speak to you because we were invited by Father Tolliver, who is passionate about education. If children are not on grade level by 3rd grade in reading, it increases the chances of them going to jail. But like I said to you before, we are on the path to college. We want the library in Washington Park. We have 170 students here today, where if the library is placed in Washington Park, 1,100 students will have the opportunity within their footsteps to learn and to read. And so this is very important for our community because as our scholar just stated, and we are not high school, we are K through 8. We want the opportunity to change the lives of students. This is the civil rights movement of our time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, I would ask that, I appreciate the students' participation. I would ask that as you leave quietly so that your places can be taken by others. We know you have to go back to school, and we really do appreciate your input. Because we are in Washington Park, it is appropriate for us to hear first from the Washington Park Advisory Council in the person of Cecilia Butler, and also from Louise McCurry, who represents the Jackson Park Advisory Council. Is Ms. Butler available? Oh, there you are.
Right here.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And welcome to Washington Park. All of you, the outer rooms, the inner rooms, everybody. This is something that none of us thought would happen, but it's here. Yes, I am the president of the Washington Park Advisory Council. And in doing so, I spoke about the need to let the President of the United States of America know that we want the library in Chicago on the South Side. And if he does pick Washington Park, we welcome that too, because he is the President of the United States of America. Now with that, it's not being done alone. This is part of a big picture that has been creeping up in Washington Park for a little time, for years now. The University of Chicago, without their help, I guess we wouldn't be here today now, would we? Let's be for real. And with that, the Washington Park Advisory Council, the Washington Park Residents Advocacy Council put together a community benefits agreement. This was put in place November of 2013. This was given to President Zimmer December 8th, 2014. Then it was 20 points. Today is 23. If you didn't get a copy, because I passed out over 250, which means that there's got to be 500 people in the area, come to our meeting, 9 a.m. Saturday. We meet the third Saturday of each month, and we also meet Thursday evening. The first item, which was mentioned constantly last night on the Washington Park Community Benefits Agreement with the University of Chicago, meaning this is a good neighbor policy that some people need to use. The first item is that the need of a community emergency system needs to be in place, and we feel that with Providence Hospital and the University of Chicago Medical Center, this could be done. That's number one. I'm going down to the bottom now, because 4 days ago, the Washington Park Forum, who had been meeting in Washington Park in the area that might encompass the library since the 30s, say they want to stay in Washington Park at the Tree Arboretum.
30 seconds remaining.
And then we have the national champions. These men and ladies have won championships throughout the country. Softball people. Guess what? They say they want a softball stadium in Washington Park at the Harold Washington Common Ground, which happens to be the largest playing area in this city. This is what we want if the president loves us and has to have us. So with that, welcome. I want to thank the Chicago Park District because they are the best governing body in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Butler.
It's only the beginning. And please, University of Chicago, meet the qualifications of Columbia that gave their community $74 million in their community benefits agreement. Match it.
Thank you. Louise?
Welcome. Those of you that are here today know that we have absolutely the most wonderful parks in the city of Chicago in Hyde Park and Kenwood. Those of you who've gone to Jackson Park or the Midway or Washington Park know it's the best around. In the 1890s, we had a war going on between New York and Chicago. New York wanted the World's Fair of 1893. Guess who got it? So it's important to say that Chicago has so much to offer. We have the best soccer teams. We have the best football teams, the best baseball teams. We have the greatest youth program. For me, it's always, always about the kids. What our kids will get out of a presidential library is a chance to see what happens when a single-parent mom raises a young man and he goes to college and he becomes the president of the United States. In Jackson Park, we have over 2,000 kids from schools, from the suburbs, from downtown, who come to Jackson Park and say, wow, we never knew the South Side was so amazing. What the Presidential Library will do is bring thousands and thousands of people from around the country to the South Side of Chicago, and they will go, wow, we now know why in 1893 the World's Fair changed the world and people came from Chicago from all over the world. Daniel Burnham said, make no small plans. This is no small plan. The idea is that we will be able to, what they did in 1 year, building 200 buildings, and out of those we got left with the Museum of Science and Industry and the Art Institute. We're now going to get left with the Presidential Library, a president who has been cheered all over the world.
1 minute remaining.
I think more than anything else, this is the place that needs to win this award. In New York, they pulled people out of their houses, they took their property to get that land for Columbia that they want to use, put the Presidential Library in. In Chicago, we're not going to do that because we believe that people matter. I think it's a very important thing to say. We never want to use parkland if we can avoid it, but the first African-American president of the United States who happens to be a Hyde Parker, this is the time to do it. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing the Presidential Library here.
Thank you very much. We are at the nexus of the 3rd Ward and the 4th Ward, and we have representatives here from both. Is Alderman Pat Dowell on hand? Alderman Dowell, would you please give us a short comment?
Good morning or good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I am glad to be here this morning, and I have a written statement because I want to make sure that what I have to say is clear. Parkland is precious, and the needs of the Washington Park and Bronzeville communities are also precious. We need increased economic activity and jobs. We need more cultural and educational and economic assets and attractions that will draw more people into our communities to spend money to support our businesses and important institutions such as the DuSable Museum, Providence Hospital, IIT, and the Center for Inner City Studies, and our schools. I could name more, but just as an example for those. And we need more people to use Washington Park. So when I think about the unique, historic, and once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to secure the Barack Obama Presidential Library, I encourage us all to keep our eyes on the prize and seek a win-win solution for the Washington Park and Bronzeville community, and the City of Chicago, and the Presidential Library Foundation, and the U of C, and the community constituents, and the public parks. I came here today to say that if President Barack Obama, who spent time teaching in Bronzeville and in Washington Park, and First Lady Michelle Obama, whose father attended DuSable High School, wants to share their rich legacy and important contributions as our first African-American president with the world in Chicago, so be it. I believe a South Side location, and specifically the Washington Park site, is the best option. And we should just get ready, roll up our sleeves, do the work, and make it work. So I want to say I commit my office to work with my constituents, and if you all are here today, please raise your hand. Third Warders, we're gonna make it work. The foundation, the City of Chicago, the University of Chicago, park advocates, to properly locate the Presidential Library in the Washington Park community. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Burns.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Commissioner, Superintendent. My name is Will Burns. I'm the Alderman of the 4th Ward, and I have a particular relationship with the President of the United States. My first job in politics in this city was through the President. I worked as community outreach coordinator as a part-time graduate student in his office. I wouldn't be standing here today if it weren't for Barack Obama. And the reason why I support bringing the library to Washington Park and to the South Side is because I know his commitment to these communities. I know how much he wanted our communities to have the same amenities, the same benefits, the same schools, the same parks, the same quality of life as any other neighborhood in the city of Chicago. I would drive around with him and we would look at communities and he would say, why can't this be improved? Why can't this look better? Why can't we have these kinds of things in our community? And when I think about what the Obama Presidential Library has the potential to create, hundreds of millions of dollars in economic activity, hundreds of jobs, a symbol of what our community can do when we work together, I think that he would want that here. And that's why I support it. I don't want to repeat many of the things that my colleague Alderman Dallas said. She was eloquent, and I think she's hit all the points. But I think we do ourselves a disservice if we pass on the opportunity to convince the Obama Presidential Foundation that they should locate this library here in Washington Park. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Now, we will start by calling off 6 names. There are 2 microphones. We'd ask speakers to line up at both microphones. We will have a range of views expressed. I again urge you to be respectful of one another. It might have been a while since many of us were at home, but I am hoping we will all reflect behavior that reflects good home training. Would you please call the names?
Absolutely. Our first speaker, Yolanda Daniel, Ms. Donna Smith, Tori Burnett, Mr. Arnold Randall, Myra Neal, and Sophia Shaw.
You can begin, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Yolanda Daniel, and I am a board member of the YWCA Metropolitan Chicago, where we serve 200,000 women and families every year. We've been serving families for the past 50 years on the south side of Chicago. And I'm extremely happy to be here today that we support the placement of the Presidential Library on either south side location. By positioning the library on Chicago Park District land, we allow communities to remain intact, preventing the displacement and separation of these historic neighborhoods. Building on the Park District land would allow continued development of the limited available commercial real estate within the community, generating tax revenue for the city and providing much-needed jobs in these areas. The Obama Presidential Library will not only help to economically sustain the community, but will increase property values for the residents of these areas.
1 minute remaining.
So we say, bring it on home.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Donna Hampton Smith. I am the president and CEO and founder of the Washington Park Chamber of Commerce. I work with various organization leaders in and around the Washington Park and Brownsville community who are in support of the Barack Presidential Library. We know and understand the opportunity and the impact that this opportunity could bring for us. Jobs, more businesses, and economic growth can be endless. Black business owners such as Miss Lee Good Food, Keith Allen of McDonald's, and Dylan Reeves of Miss Biscuit, we are in support. They support this opportunity. When you drive through our communities, what do you see? You see a lack of job opportunities. The businesses are failing. We don't have the economic opportunity that we see most other communities have. The North Side, they have an Apple store. Stores are endless in those types of communities that are north of us. I stand before you as a longtime resident of Washington Park community. I grew up in the Robert Taylor home.
1 minute remaining.
I am also a homeowner at the 5700 block of Indiana. I attended Coleman Elementary School and Beethoven and DuSable. My husband and I, we raised our children here. So I say, to the utmost respect, listen to the voices like me. Our voices are the ones that should be here, should be heard. We've managed careers here, raised our children here, and we pay our taxes. And those taxes go to the parks and to beautify the community. I pose a question. Are Black lives better, or does Black lives matter? And our communities matters because Black communities matter. So I speak to you and say, bring the library home.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Tori Barrett. I'm the director of the Cleo Center. I'm also the executive pastor of the Life Center Church of God in Christ. Will T.L. Barrett Jr. is the senior pastor, and we've been in the community for the past 45 years. I'm here to urge the president and the first lady and the foundation to bring the Barack Obama Library here to the Washington Park community. I'm gonna keep it real. It would be a slap in the face if any other city other than the city of Chicago receives this endorsement. Our children, we just heard from the Washington Park children. Our communities have been disenfranchised for far too long. They have been neglected for far too long. And it's time that the president showed the support to us that we've shown to him since before he got in office. The president has an opportunity.
1 minute remaining.
He has an opportunity. I know he doesn't have any sons, but he has an initiative called Father and Sons Initiative. He has an opportunity to show that he is a father that cares about all of our sons. He has another initiative. The initiative is called the Fathers and Son Initiative, but the other initiative that he has is, Am I my brother's keeper? I don't know about you, but our brothers are dying in the south side of Chicago daily. They are neglected daily. They lose hope daily. So I'm asking our president. I support him 100%. I support my first lady 100%. But now is the time that they
30
support
seconds
this community 100%. And although we like Jackson Park, Washington Park is my home. And Washington Park is where I want to see the Presidential Library. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, General Superintendent. My name is Arnold Randall. I'm a lifelong resident of the Woodlawn community. I was born and raised here. I learned to swim in this park outside here in the pool. I used this park growing up. I'm raising my children here in this community, and I'm really committed to the presidential, like everybody else here, I'm pretty sure, committed to bringing the presidential library here to the South Side. I've had the privilege also of managing parks here on the South Side, including Washington Park, and planning for parks on the South Side, including Washington Park and Jackson Park and others. So I have an interesting perspective on the day-to-day and how it has to be taken care of and all the needs that it has. It needs a lot of things. It needs a lot of resources, and frankly, the Park District could dump all their capital budget in, and there'd still be things to do. We need investment like the Presidential Library, and I think that the Barack Obama Presidential Library and Museum could do that. I'm here to talk about the issue, and you're going to hear a lot of concerns about are museums appropriate to put in parks, public parks. I'm here to talk a little bit about that. In the Park District here in Chicago, there are 11 museums currently in public parks. 11. I'm just going to read off a few names because some are obvious and some are not so obvious. Obviously, the Museum of Science and Industry, the Adler Planetarium, the Shedd Aquarium, the Field Museum, the DuSable Museum of African American History right down the street, the Art Institute, the National Museum of Mexican Art, the Institute for Puerto Rican Arts and Culture, the Peggy Notem Art Museum, the Museum of Contemporary Art. Some of these are in smaller parks. Some of these are in historic parks like Lincoln Park, Grant Park, Burnham Park, Washington Park, Jackson Park. Museums are part of the fabric of parks here in Chicago, and not only in Chicago, but in other cities.
1 minute remaining.
Central Park in New York, an Olmsted designed park. The same person who designed Central Park designed this park, and the Midway and Jackson Park. There's a museum in Central Park that is world-renowned, and people go and travel to go and see. What I'm trying to say, and I have a lot of friends and colleagues here who are advocates for open space, I'm an advocate for open space. I've spent the better part of my professional career dealing with those issues. Museums in public parks in big cities are part of the fabric, and it's okay. And in fact, it's more than okay. They're seen as assets, places that people want to go. They bring people there. I use the museums all the time with my children. We use them. It's valuable. There should be a really, really high bar when you're talking about putting new things into public parks. The first African-American president of the United States in our 240 years of existence as a country, who is from this community, who worked in this community, who a lot of you have known and met when he was working here, and the First Lady, who we've known and met and worked with and seen around shopping and taking their kids to places and using the parks. I cannot think of a better place for a presidential library museum than to be here in the Washington Park community. We should absolutely be looking at the corner of 55th and King Drive that the property the university owns, but the president and the First Lady and the foundation feel like they could use some of the park, to enhance that and create open spaces and a campus that really makes it beautiful and works. Why not? I think that's a great thing to do. I'm in full support. I just want to get some facts out to you, and I really want you to think about it in that context, and we really need to support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you could wait for 1 second while we call the next 6 speakers, and if those speakers could assemble while the speakers who are at the microphones are speaking.
We have Francis Vanderpool, Washington Park Conservatory.
Please come up to the mic.
Brown. Gian Foreman. Bob George.
My name is Myra Neal.
Step closer, please. Thank you.
My name is Myra Neal, a resident of Washington Park and an owner of real estate in this area for more than 20 years. I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and I'm very proud and honored that the south side is being considered as one of the sites for the OPL. I would like to ask the Park District Board to consider 2 points as they deliberate their decision for this library. That this request for land use for the OPL be the highest bar and only request that will relinquish land from the Park District, that this decision will not set any precedents that would allow additional Park District land use requests be honored. My second point is that the Park District Board remember the long tradition that have been served in Washington Park. For example, the Bud Billikens Parade, the Soul Circus, festivals and sporting events in Washington Park, and that these traditions not be compromised or eliminated for the sake of the OPL. I made this brief, but I hope impactful enough for your consideration, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Sophia Shaw, and I am President and CEO of the Chicago Botanic Garden. Barack Obama's presidency will be remembered in part for his commitment to the environment and education, and for First Lady Michelle Obama's commitment to the White House vegetable garden, healthy eating, and exercise. A presidential library center planned carefully to enhance our Chicago park system, and including flower and vegetable gardens can make an impressive statement with lasting impact. The Chicago Botanic Garden, one of the great public gardens of the world, would be pleased to contribute to this vision and offers counsel in the design and operation of gardening components to the library. The garden's educational spectrum includes programs for students from pre-K through PhD, including Windy City Harvest, offering training in urban agriculture for youth, adults, and ex-offenders. The importance of nature is indisputable. In an increasingly technological world, a garden is the perfect antidote. And Cicero's observation, if you have a garden and a library, you have everything you need, suggests that this combination is timeless. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is G2 Brown. I am the coordinator of the education team at the Kenwood Oakland Community Organization, and also the national director for the Journey for Justice Alliance. We're here today to say that during my long time living in this neighborhood, working in this neighborhood, working with young people at Revis, at Fuller, at Dyett, at Dunbar, at Doolittle East Elementary School, the one thing I've learned is that regardless of our children's income, regardless of what they have, if we are consistent, if we have high expectations, if we look in their eyes and we can see the best that they have to offer, even and believe in them even more than they may believe in ourselves, there are no limitations that our young people can have. They can accomplish anything. But what I've also learned is that unfortunately, that same vision has not been shared throughout Chicago public schools. So what we're saying is that we, of course, at the Kenwood Oakland Community Organization have enjoyed an excellent relationship with our president, even when he was a state senator, when he was a U.S. senator. We love the idea of economic development in Bronzeville, but we are very concerned that Dyett High School will become a casualty of this effort. We are very concerned because just like with Olympic efforts in the past, we know that when major initiatives like this happen, the needs of working and low-income families are always last on the list. So what we are demanding for Dyett High School, I appreciate the comments from the University of Chicago.
30 seconds remaining.
Yes, ma'am. But what we are demanding is a community benefits agreement to protect the community's plan for Dyett Global Leadership and Green Technology High School. This proposal was developed by engaging over 2,500 residents in Bronzeville, actually taking the time to talk to parents at feeder schools and ask them, if you could dream, what would you want for your child? And we respected them, we valued their input, and from there we developed a world-class proposal for a sustainable community school village that can anchor this community. The response for African-American children cannot always be privatization. It must be invest in these children like they're invested in other parts of this city.
You have exceeded 2 minutes.
Yes,
Please make your final remark.
Yes, ma'am. So we support the idea and the jobs that the library would bring and the economic development it would bring to the community. But we want to say to the people in the audience, we should not have to relive history over and over and over again to get a sense that families that live in Bronzeville who make less than $40,000 a year, our input is not valued. So let this effort, yes, ma'am, let this effort be different. Let this effort be new. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Foreman?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
That's call and response. I think the president made a call. It's time for us to respond. I speak today as a community stakeholder in support of the use of park land, specifically Washington Park, to build the Barack Obama Presidential Library. As a little boy, Washington Park was my front yard. I learned archery, learned to play baseball, fishing in the lagoon. As a teenager in high school, ran cross-country meets, went to countless barbecues and family reunions. Now as an adult, I'm doing the same things with my daughter. I've personally invested my time and my money into the Washington Park and Woodlawn neighborhoods for one reason and one reason alone. I believe in the potential of these neighborhoods. I've experienced the benefits of park space, so I don't take lightly when we talk about using park space in a different kind of way. I was asked by the news earlier today, what do I think of taking away park space? I don't think of it as taking away park space. I think of it as adding to park space.
1 minute remaining.
I think when the opportunity comes up like this, you have to think about the opportunity and the opportunity cost. What are you actually giving up? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This will benefit our neighborhoods, our city, on a global scale. How amazing would it be to share with the world our community? They can see something on the news other than how many shootings took place on the south side of Chicago. If an organization truly cares about people, and that's the organization of their mission is to whatever it is, at the end of the day is to help people, they have to consider the impact that this library will have on people. That's good enough. Let's bring the park. Here's my plea. President Obama, we're asking you bring the park to Washington Park, bring the library to Washington Park. We got a game of 5-on-5 for you. We're waiting.
All right, thank you very much. Can you call the next 5 speakers, please? Thank you.
Sure. The next 5 speakers, B-A-R-I Stevens, R. Blackwell from DuSable Museum, Father Richard Tolliver, Bobby Townsend, and please feel free to line up at both microphone stands.
Thank you very much. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Alderman Joe Moore, who chairs the City Council Special Ed Parks and Recreation Committee. Thank you for coming, Alderman Moore. You may begin. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Frances Vandervoort, usually called Fran. I live essentially on the doorstep of Washington Park. I live at 55th and Ellis. I represent the Washington Park Conservancy, and there are a number of other members here somewhere in this vast crowd, which is very good to see. I have been a member of the Washington Park Conservancy Board for about 8 years, and I also was a public school teacher in Chicago, beginning at Corliss, Austin, Gage Park, and ending up at Kenwood. And I always recognized that park outdoor education would contribute to the potential of our children of Chicago. It was very important to take the kids out, and I did it regularly. The Conservancy, along with the entire south side of Chicago, I will say, supports even longs for President Obama's library and museum to be sited on the south side. But precious green space is not the best use, is not the best availability space for a library. In particular, I call your attention to the Washington Park Arboretum, and I did hand out these brochures. I only had 50 of them, so some of you have them. But the Washington Park Arboretum exists between 51st and 55th Street, next to King Drive, and it was founded by the Chicago Park District and Martin Morton Arboretum. Some of the trees are very old. One goes back to the time when President Washington was president, and there are many other beautiful trees. I encourage you to look at it. It was Ronald Reagan who once said, famously, if you've seen one tree, you've seen them all. Ronald Reagan said that. I think we can do better than that, and I think we can make a beautiful space available for the Presidential Library. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome. You can begin, please, sir.
My name is Bob George. I'm a member of the Kenwood Oakland Community Organization, the National Director of Save Our Schools, and a member of Journey for Justice. And I'm here to speak today about the fact that Diet High School is in this park right now. And the children who are in the feeder schools coming to Diet High School deserve to have a global high school, a neighborhood high school, an open enrollment high school as part of what their lives can look forward to. We support the president having a park on the south side. We would also like the community's needs, the community's benefits, the things that need to be done in order for this community's schools and the vibrancy of the education of these babies, of these children, to be honored. And so we ask with our heart and with our soul that as this library comes to fruition, that the community benefits of the Diet community, of the Brownsville and Kenwood communities be honored. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Benae Stevens, and I'm a resident of Washington Park. I've lived here since 1979. I put my name on the list because I went to the meeting yesterday, and I was really upset that more people were concerned about the park than they were about our children. But today, when I came to this meeting, and the people who have come before me, they have expressed that this is about our children. And if we have to give up a space in Washington Park or Woodlawn, which I prefer Washington Park because this is where I live, and the fact that how could we better express the president in a park that's named by the first president of the United States on a street by the most prominent black man, Dr. Martin Luther King Drive, in a park next to DuSable Museum. So I am hoping that Washington Park receives that nomination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Father Tolliver, welcome.
I'm Father Richard Tolliver, the rector of St. Edmund's Episcopal Church.
Father Tolliver, can you turn your microphone up just a little bit? Thank you very much.
I'm Father Richard Tolliver, the rector of St. Edmund's Episcopal Church, located here in Washington Park since 1905. We've been here 110 years, one of the longest institutional stakeholders in this community, still here. When other churches fled, it remained. I have over 350 people here today from our various entities, including those 177th and 8th graders you heard speak first from the charter school, which is housed at St. Edmund's, where we've been involved in education since 1948. The prophet Jeremiah once said, "Seek ye the welfare of the city." We have been for 110 years seeking the welfare of this community and attracting people who many of you know have an outstanding presence in this city and nationally who had that same commitment. They came to that church for the same reason. People like Charles Duster, who was the first African-American partner at Skidmore, Owens, and Merrill, who was the grandson of Ida B. Wells. And the Wells family still, the Duster family still is at St. Edmund's. So Patricia Roberts Harris, former Secretary of HUD, grew up in St. Edmund's. We want to carry on. Earl B. Dickerson was buried from St. Edmund's. So we want to carry on the same tradition by bringing the park here, which will continue to seek the welfare of this neighborhood educationally, culturally, and socially, economically, as the giants who've gone on before us in that institution for 110 years have done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may start. Thank you.
My name is Bobby Townsend. I'm a grandmother. I'm a community organizer who was taught by our president. I'm a Bahama mom. He taught us, look around you. This area is being gentrified. I thought gentrification was only due to income. No, it's not. Gentrification is mixed race. We have 90% of blacks in this area. Look out, we're gonna be gone. They don't respect the seniors. Seniors, you got a lot of power. Make some noise, and I do make noise. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could just hold, please. Could you call the next 6 names?
Absolutely. Sandra, spelling of the last name is Guice. Robin Kaufman. Sharon Eubanks Pope. Sal Dunlap. Valerie Johnson. And Dr. Carol Adams.
I would ask that you line up at both microphones, please, so that we can proceed smoothly. Mr. Blackwell.
My name is Bob Blackwell. I'm the interim director of the DuSable Museum. And I'm a little bit puzzled about these meetings. To me, someone ought to ask or understand the observation that New York City has the land, New York City has the money, and if we aren't careful, we're going to be sitting around here and New York City will win this thing. And now my question is, how many of you would be happy if New York City won? Now raise your hand if you would be happy. So if nobody's going to be happy with New York City, my view is that we need to get to it. And don't nickel and dime this thing. Let's get Brock's Library here in Washington Park, right next to DuSable, and then we'll be off and running. Thanks.
Thank you very much. You may begin. Thank you.
My name is Cassandra Geis. I'm a resident of Washington Park. I was born and raised in Woodlawn, so were my children. We're 4th generation Woodlawners coming to Washington Park area. I'm a president of the Myra Hunter Reeves Culture Club, which is a federated club affiliated with the National Association of Colored Women's Clubs, which is a 118-year-old organization serving families across this nation. My concern, well, let me say this. Yes, we would love to see this library here in Chicago. Concern is, however, that those things that families use through the Park District in either Washington Park or Jackson Park will dissipate. We have families here who are not always that well off, and they use the park facilities to educate, bring their children, have fun with. It's a meeting place, it's a reunion place, it's a place when you have festivals where there are independent entrepreneurs. They're at the festivals.
1 minute remaining.
And the concern is what will happen to these things once there's a presidential library here. And since the presidential library is unique to urban, will they in some way be part of the culture of the library's uniqueness? That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
My name is Robin Kaufman. I live about a half mile from here. My son spent, and I spent many, many, many days in Dyett Park, and I was a member of the Dyett Park Advisory Council. Like most of the people here, I want the Obama Library in Chicago. And I believe if Obama wants it in Chicago, it'll be in Chicago. It's not going to go to New York unless he wants it in New York, okay? Now, New York is offering him 17 acres, okay? We've just been told that the building only needs to be 3 acres. The university owns 11 acres across the street. That's plenty of space for the building. If they want a garden in the park, I'm sure they're welcome to do that. There's space for that. They can have debates in the historic forum. They can sit under the trees in the Arboretum. University of Chicago, I'm ashamed to admit, I'm an alumna of the place, is on a massive land grab. They want to remake the South Side.
1 minute remaining.
Greg Hines of Crane's Chicago Business had a marvelous article where he says this whole thing was engineered. They leaked it out that it might go to New York at the last minute in order to put pressure on the mayor. I believe they had this meeting at noon today because the original intent was that they wanted the Park District to meet at 3:30 today.
30 seconds remaining.
There's been so much outroar. Last night there were hundreds of people speaking. The meeting went on for hours with people speaking against putting it in the park. The university has clouded. People are saying we want it in Washington Park. Washington Park is a neighborhood. A lot of the speakers this morning were saying we want it in the neighborhood of Washington Park. I don't know how many want it in Washington Park. I hope somebody is here from Friends of the Park who can speak and explain the repercussions of the land being turned over to the city, their long-term
You have
repercussions.
exceeded 2 minutes. Please make your final
Please conclude.
remarks.
That's enough. I hope the hundreds of people who are in the other room will get a chance to come in here and speak. I hope you'll listen and
Thank
hear
you.
the community, not just a handful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I am Sharon Gibson Eubanks Pope, born in Washington Park. My oldest daughter attended St. Edmund's School. I taught at Diet when it was a middle school in 1975. And I am very much in favor of this library coming to Washington Park. For many reasons, I have had the opportunity to visit 4 different presidential libraries, and I cannot tell you the impact that it has on the communities that they reside in. This part of the south side of Chicago has had the most difficulty in being revitalized. I am a member of the Cottage Grove TIF board, and I really know it took a decade to get the shops and lofts at 47th Street. It has taken more than a decade to get a field house and a recreational center in that community. With the impact of the Barack Obama Presidential Library, we will have an easier time of bringing these benefits to our community. Our children need it.
1 minute
The
remaining.
Park District field houses are very scarce in this part of the city. And the Obama parameters, we would be able to get such things. Parks within this part of the South Side are not groomed and maintained. I don't think you'd get a presidential library and they would dare not groom and maintain it. I don't think that the smart people at the University of Chicago would consider having such a facility as the Obama Museum and not consider having a trauma center. You wouldn't have people coming from all over the world having to go to 95th Street or Northwestern University to get trauma centers. The economic development, the cultural collaboration, the educational opportunity, the improved transportation, the role models for our children who look like them, the pride for the south side of Chicago instead of us being the armpit of the city.
You have exceeded 2 minutes.
Bring the Obama Library home to Washington Park.
Thank you very much. Dr. Adams, before you start, would you please call the next 6 names? And would those people please come and line up at both microphones?
Francis Bellamy, Nancy Brasct, Joe Bowden, Lauren Movr, Andrea Zupa, and Camu Murray is the last name.
Good afternoon. My name is Carol Adams, and I'm a resident of the South Side of Chicago, most recent past president of the DuSable Museum of African American History, that is the neighbor here that sits in an Olmsted Park in 2 Burnham buildings, very much a part of history, and the founding member of Museum Campus South that composes all of the museums that are a part of this great cultural corridor in which we live. And I rise to encourage the Park District, the City of Chicago, and all other stakeholder entities to see the social, educational, cultural, and economic benefits of bringing the President Barack Obama Library to our community. I believe that the economic development of our communities and the honoring of our homegrown president are the paramount reasons for citing the museum. And in the words of the iconic Frederick Olmsted, I'm glad we are not making any small plans. Historically, Chicago's major museums have been located in parks, and the marriage has been a good one. The museums have been great stewards of parkland and have in fact encouraged even more people to visit and utilize the parks. The library and the museum will probably, as you saw earlier, take up no more than 3 acres in terms of actual building. The rest will be open and green
1 minute
space.
remaining.
I think that's important to emphasize. I think it's also important to emphasize that this is not the University of Chicago's library. It will not be on University of Chicago land. They will not control the library or run the library. They're in fact conveying the land they own to this project. And if the President and the First Lady determine that more land is needed, then that land, I think, should be available. I'm an advocate of a number of the causes that have come on here. I don't think we have to have a dividing line that says if you support Diet School, you don't support the museum.
30 seconds remaining.
If you don't support one or the other. I think we have to come up with a way as citizens to work in unity, to get a solution that meets all of our needs. I feel strongly if we show ourselves as a hostile, disunited community, that other choices will be made about this library. I don't want to fight. I want to win. Let's bring it on home.
Thank you very much. You may proceed. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sel Dunlap. I am a spiritual resident of the South Side. I'm also a spiritual resident of North Lawndale. First and foremost, I would like for somebody who has got a black t-shirt that says, "Bring it home," to give it to my 91-year-old aunt who's sitting in back. She hasn't got one. If she can raise her hand. Thank you. I'll get with you, Dr. Adams. Bless you. I am concerned about the legality of this process. We have spoken to the ethics of the president. In the bidding process, you have a certain time to get your bid in. That time has passed. Let me share with you what the Administration Office of the Courts has to say about bids coming in after the deadline.
1 minute remaining.
Questions or requests submitted after the due date and time will not be answered. Now, Southside, I love you. And I have an empirical history of showing my love for you. Wherever you are, so am I. But my spirit is in North Lawndale. When we talk about the economic development and encouragement that can happen to a community, there's no comparison. I mean, none. The South Side needs this. But North Lawndale is in desperate need of something like this. And I assure you that should we be granted this opportunity, I will personally come get you and bring you to the library. Thank you for this time, Ms. Novell.
Thank you.
Oh, one last thing, 10 seconds. If the president should select New York, I haven't read The Audacity of Hope, but I want to assure you that I can write a little bit, and I will be writing a book called The Audacity of a Dope.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Zopp. I'm the president and CEO of the Chicago Urban League. And on behalf of the Chicago Urban League that has been working in the community on the south, to strengthen the community on the South Side since 1960, I am here to support the effort to bring the Barack Obama Presidential Library to either of the sites on the south side that the University of Chicago has presented. There are many reasons that we want and need this library on the south side. We've talked about education. We haven't talked about the benefits of civic education, the opportunity for our young people not just to learn, but to see the benefits of civic engagement, something that the Urban League supports strongly. We've talked about the cultural benefits, but at the top of the list for the Chicago Urban League are the economic opportunity that this library will bring, the investment into the community that this library will bring, the jobs that this library will bring, the opportunities for our small businesses to grow and thrive in our community that this library will bring. We need to have this library. It makes sense. We have a fabulous plan. And yes, we will work together. Once we win this library and bringing it home, we will work together to ensure that our community is safe, that our residents are not displaced, that everybody is included in building a great library and a great community effort for our city. Bring it on home.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Kamal Murray. I am the Executive Director of the Access Tennyson Education Foundation, and I live and work in the Washington Park community. And I just want to make two remarks. The first remark is about not reducing this opportunity to be a discussion about a structure. This is a conversation about a symbol, and that symbol does not need to be 11 acres. It needs to be 1,100 acres. So even the 33 acres that they are attempting to occupy is not enough for the large symbol that these young African-American men in this King Drive corridor need to see on a daily basis and be inspired to not have their gang meeting on the tennis courts, but to walk past this library and grab a book or browse the internet. My second comment is about being a true friend of the park. I have been doing free tennis programs to kids in the Washington Park community for 8 years, and we've sent 9 juniors to college for free. But I will tell you, in the middle of July, 6 days out of 7, my organization is the only one doing work in the park. So to all the opposers, when was the last time you walked your dog in Washington Park? Because I didn't see you. When was the last time you held a picnic? Because I didn't see you.
1 minute remaining.
This conversation should not be about preservation of parkland. It should be about how do we collectively increase utilization of parkland. So if we have to bring the Barack Obama Library to the south side of Chicago, so that my organization isn't the only one doing programs on Saturday at noon, let's bring it on home.
Thank you. Could you hold, well, call a few more. Can you call the next 6 speakers, please?
Zachary Ferguson, Arnetta Gilt. The first name is just Tamara on the card. Patricia Fox, Christine Vollmer, and David Lane.
Please line up at both microphones. You can proceed. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. My name is Lauren Maltz. I have been a Southside resident for 45 years. I care deeply about the children of the Southside. I've raised 3 here. My boys played baseball in Washington Park. My daughter lifeguarded in Washington Park for a few years. I am also the president of the Board of Friends of the Parks, a 40-year-old park advocacy organization that has worked very hard improving, protecting, and preserving parks on the South Side. I would like nothing more than to see the Barack Obama Library on the South Side of Chicago. Friends of the Parks is excited at the prospect of this library coming to the South Side. The President and First Lady are deeply connected to this community. We also applaud the siting of the library in a neighborhood like Washington Park or Woodlawn, where the economic benefits related to the library could greatly enhance neighborhoods in need of attention. Friends of the Parks opposes the siting of the Obama Presidential Library in either of these historic parks. These parks were designed by one of the world's most visionary landscape architects, Frederick Law Olmsted.
1 minute remaining.
Famous for designing urban parks throughout our country for generations of people to enjoy. We owe it to our children to pass these parks on. They are not the city of Chicago's, the park districts, or the universities to break up and give away. There's too much vacant land on the South Side which could be creatively utilized to build a dynamic presidential library befitting a truly urban president.
30 seconds remaining.
Vacant land like the 11 acres on 55th and King could also transform the Washington Park community, reap economic benefits, have accessible transportation, and engage community partners. Let's push for an urban design that celebrates the integrity of our historic parks and at the same time celebrates and acknowledges our long neglected Southside communities by utilizing vacant land and unused land. Let's not accept the argument that the presidential library has to be in a park on the South Side or we will risk losing it. Let's challenge our leaders to do better and think more creatively. I think Barack Obama, community organizer, would be proud of us if we did.
You
Thank
have exceeded
Thank
2
you.
minutes.
Next speaker, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Christine Vollmer. As a community member for 40-plus years living near both Washington and Jackson Parks, I am thrilled that our South Side may become home to the Obama Presidential Library. Where to put it is the question. Last night's forum saw comments stating that 20 acres isn't too much, to the statement that it's 13 and a half football fields. Actually, I calculated 18. Another said we have 11 museums in Chicago parks now. Why another? Why not another? Some also said we should not demonstrate against, but work for. Not be divisive, but offer our full support. But there is no reason to carve up our family jewels for short-term gain. Once done, there is no reversing. Let us use our formidable South Side brain power, even if the powers that be choose to go north to Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill, and do better. So
1 minute remaining.
So how does using 20 acres in a Chicago park for a presidential library, if you look at this little piece of paper, produce a gain in usable parkland for residents and visitors to enjoy? This seems to be saying that those soccer, baseball, and cricket players, just to name a few, family reunions and festivals will be gaining parkland instead of losing it. Will double-speak tactics
30
work
seconds
here?
remaining.
Do we say yes to another museum, library in the park system, or do we learn from our past and just say no? Lastly, these forums are for much-needed input. Pros and cons should both be heard. I want to see the Obama Library make its home on the South Side, where it all started. But, as Sam Cooke said, a change is gonna come. Let's make it good change without causing irreversible damage to our few remaining open
You
spaces
have
in
exceeded
Chicago.
2 minutes. Please make your final remarks.
Put the library west of King Drive on the 11 acres already owned by the University of Chicago.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zachary Ferguson, taxpayer. The purpose of a presidential library is to educate and preserve history. It's not for economic impact. But since that's been made a part of the sales pitch, I must speak on that. One thing I have to say, if $1 trillion have already came to Chicago, what makes you think the presidential library and museum is going to have an impact on the Black community when the $1 trillion didn't? So I've written something, I'm going to read this off in the limited time I have. There are claims, even promises, Barack Obama Presidential Library and Museum will bring good-paying jobs and economic development for the community, in spite of other multi-million-dollar projects promising the exact same thing, placed in federal court orders, written into law, but still didn't deliver. So on this project, we are taking a different approach. We are requesting President Obama to order a grand jury and investigative committee to take public complaints.
1 minute remaining.
And investigate those in public office and in departments, including EEOC, U.S. Department of Labor, Chicago Federal Courts, the Appellate Court, and the chief judges for aiding and abetting intentional violation of higher Black federal court orders and laws.
The testimony was given at Hyde Park High School. It is testimony, even though it was disclaimer came. We want to present it to the
30
committee.
seconds remaining.
Last point, we're requesting a link and copy of the governing laws of this procedures for bringing a Barack Obama Presidential Library and Museum, and a copy of the laws preventing building in public parks so we can know in detail our rights, independent of agents under political clout. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph Bowden, and I'm the president of Friends of the Community. I'm also a stakeholder in Washington Park as well as Woodlawn, and I'm a product of Inglewood. I believe the Presidential Library is very important, that it happens in Chicago for a lot of reasons. I know that we are here and you hear a lot of craziness that's going on and that has happened over the past couple days and the past week, but I'm out in the field with these young brothers and I see them every day along 62nd and King Drive. I've seen people get shot at, and the only thing that they are dealing with right now is fear. Fear of the police, fear of the people that's scared to talk to them, and no hope. So I believe that this is an opportunity to bring hope to the community, and I'm not looking for the University of Chicago to control the opportunity to give to our people. I'm gonna control that opportunity because I'm gonna continue to do what I've done thus far, continue to create opportunities for these kids and continue to offer them hope. Park District, I would hope that you all would consider bringing home the Presidential Library and allowing this great opportunity to happen. The University of Chicago, they are the catalyst in the neighborhood. They employ 14,400 employees. I don't work for the university. I don't have any relationships with anybody at the university. I'm a major landowner in Washington Park, probably one of the largest private landowners in Washington Park, and I'm a product of Inglewood. In order for us to bring change to our community, we have to control our change and stop asking the University of Chicago to do it.
Thank you very much. Please proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Fox, and I am a member of the Washington Park Conservancy. I am also, for the most part, a lifelong resident of the Washington Park community. The parks, Washington Park and Jackson Park, have been a part of my life ever since early childhood. What we don't need is to disrupt the flow of the park system, the Olmsted-designed parks, by adding more buildings. There are a lot of places that we can use instead of a site in one of these wonderful parks. One of them being the site of the old Michael Reese Hospital. It's on the lakefront, you got infrastructure, you got a bus line that goes through there. I don't see why we need to disturb the beauty of the parks that we have. A few acres of park, you say, to build the library on. What about all of the traffic? What about the disturbance to the migrating birds? There's just a lot of reasons not to put a presidential library in a park. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could you please hold for 1 second while we call the next speakers? Please call them.
Pastor O'Neill, Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Martin Joyce, last name Carol Parks, Neil, the spelling of the last name is Idsitas, and Ray, I cannot read the Thompson, Ray Thompson, I'm sorry.
Let me say also that there are vacant seats in the front. If there are people who are standing in the rear of the room, there are multiple seats here, so please come and make yourself available or make them available to you. Thank you. You can start.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Cassandra Francis, President of the Friends of the Parks, and thank you for coming out today to express your views on this very important issue. Friends of the Parks is thrilled the Obamas are considering Chicago as the home of the Obama Presidential Library, an institution which will create tremendous economic and cultural development for its host city. We understand the benefits it brings to the city. However, Friends of the Parks opposes the placement of the Obama Presidential Library in a park or public open space. However, there are proposals that we do support. We support UIC's two-site proposal on the west side, which is a net add of green space, but we also support the Washington Park neighborhood proposal that places the Obama Presidential Library west of King Drive on the 11 acres owned by the community, which does not impact the park. This is an appropriate urban solution and responsible use of land, similar to the recent Logan Arts Center building just blocks away. This would allow the Presidential Library to serve as a beacon for the community and a sensitive institutional neighbor to its surroundings while enjoying sweeping views of Chicago skyline, Washington Park, and the university campus.
1 minute remaining.
All the economic benefits discussed today will happen in the neighborhood, whether it happens on the east or west side of Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. This community should not be forced to make a choice between the Obama Presidential Library on the south side and losing valuable park space. We put into question the University of Chicago's premise that the site must be at least 25 acres. You heard Columbia's is 17, and the building is 3 acres. It's just 3 acres in the park, but trust me, it will change the park. That entire 20 acres will be controlled and will not be functioning the same way it is now. So in closing, I'd like to just quote someone who said, Chicago's historic park should be enhanced by the Obama Presidential Library, not the home of it. So let's bring the Obama Presidential Library home, and let's also enhance this historic park and the open space for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. You may speak, please.
Good afternoon. My name is David Lane. First and foremost, I am a Christian. My faith in God informs every decision that I make and everything that I do. Secondly, I am a husband to the greatest wife in the world, Cheryl Nell Cookie Battles Lane. She's not here, but yeah, she's the greatest. Thirdly, I am the father of a very talented young man, Solomon Xavier Lee, and I am here to speak on their behalf to say that we support the Barack Obama Presidential Library Center wherever it is, as long as it's in Chicago. All politics aside, we want a new library, and we'll take any and all new libraries here in Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Pastor Anthony O'Neill. I pastor the Holy Trinity Missionary Baptist Church that is located in the Washington Park community, 5416 South Calumet. We have been in this community over 40 years, and we are excited about the great opportunity of housing the library of the President of the United States of America. This is a blessing for the South Side and the Washington Park community, a blessing that has been long overdue, an opportunity for economic growth, education for our children, jobs, and an opportunity to be a part of history. The opportunity to restore new life in a community that has been deserted and long in need for a change. Mr. President, you won your first election on change. Please bring a change to the Washington Park community. Please bring a change to the South Side of Chicago. We are in desperate need of it. Put aside our tactics of politics and this and that, and look at what the opportunity it will bring to a community that has been long overdue for something that we well deserve. God bless you and have a good day.
Thank you very much. You may start.
God bless you, Chicago. And thank you so much, panelists, for having this forum. I'm Arnitha Golston, and I am one of the co-founders. My husband is the founder, and I'm the co-founder, and the executive director of the RTW Veterans Center. And RTW stands for Veterans Committed to Remaking the World. We're right across the street, so if anybody have something to gain or lose by this, it would probably be us. We have 4 urban gardens right directly across the street. One of them is the Michelle Obama's First Lady Community Garden that we've had for 4 years. We have probably about $50,000, $60,000 of private money in the garden because we're not funded. We serve over 50,000 free meals to anybody who walks through the door. Veterans, homeless people, residents. If you need a meal, you just walk in. We don't card you. We don't ask you, do you have a job? It don't matter. Are you hungry? Sit down. You can have a meal to eat. My reason for standing here today is simply this. I want to see the Presidential Library and Museum in Washington Park. I support that. I want to see it on King Drive on the west side of the streets. Why do I say that? Because I think it becomes very dangerous when you keep giving up park space for museums or anything else. And then how much space are you going to give up? What I have not heard at the 4-hour meeting last night that I was there from beginning to end, and have been here since the beginning, is this. You're also going to have 40 new hotels and restaurants where they're going to be. So I'm not opposed to any of this, but I do understand it comes with gentrification. And I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that if the proper compensation comes with the package. So we need to know exactly what the residents are going to have if they are displaced. And I think it would be good to see that prior to. I want the library here. I want it here. It is in the neighborhood of our United States president, so bring it on home.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, my name Maurice Bishop. Kind of nervous a little bit.
Don't be.
But I'm a resident of the Washington Park community, just like Mr. Bowden and the crew member was saying. I am a product of 62nd and King Drive, standing out there being shot at. I done synced it all. I've been in Washington Park resident for all my life. Today my birthday. I'm still here. So I think this is a change. I just want to see change. I want to see my kids see change and get a piece of history, because I didn't. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I just wanted to bring it on home so everybody can see change. You know, I'm tired of the negativity coming towards Washington Park. This could be some positive thoughts for our young. I speak for everybody when I say we all need jobs. As far as the young youth, standing out there on 55th, it could be a piece of history, you know what I mean? And I'm the spokesperson for them. They not here, so I'm here. I'm the youngest in the crowd speaking for them that stand on them blocks every day. So with that being said, I just wish you bring it on home, and this would be a good opportunity. It's knocking at your door. I heard it. You know
1 minute
what I mean?
remaining.
So with that being said, with these guys backing me up, I love them. I respect them. The crowd, I respect y'all. I just want y'all to bring it on home just to see through me. Peace.
Thank you very much, and happy birthday.
I am Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Senior Advisor to Reverend Jesse Jackson and National Executive Director of Push for Excellence. So I'm speaking on behalf of the Rainbow Push Coalition and Push Excel, our educational entity. First of all, I want to applaud all of the young people who've taken the time to speak today. I think that we have to reimagine what a presidential library means to the city of Chicago. I'm a resident of the city of Chicago, happen to live on the south side. This is not about trees and grass. It is really about a future for a generation yet unborn, and a generation that is in elementary and preschool. And those of us who are well beyond our years and our political ideology should not mar the opportunity for our children to witness history come home. It is rare that, and in our lifetime, that we will have a sitting president bring his museum and library to our urban city, where our children have no dreams that they've been able to see realized except death, violence, anger, and frustration. This library, wherever it sits, brings a certain amount of jobs, but more than that, it brings a new face, a new energy, a new educational connection to the city and to the community where it sits. I grew up coming to Washington Park when you could ride horses in the park. And so for those of you who talk about how great it is now, it has lost its luster because it has not been reinvested in. So we deserve this library because we gave birth to this president and first lady. We want this library and museum because it will enhance the city of Chicago for the people who are the majority, the black and brown population. You'll have something that we can look forward to and we can see ourselves. I have visited 3 presidential libraries. It's not about the buildings. It's about the content on the inside. And this will be the first one in an urban city, and it would happen to be about an African American, the first to be elected president in our lifetimes. We don't want to miss this message talking about trees and grass. So we want to bring the library here. We invite the president, we welcome the president, first lady. Pick us. We're your home city. We deserve you, we want you, and certainly you know that Chicago needs you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ray Thompson. I concur with everything she said. I come out here as a private citizen. I grew up in Washington Park, went to Walter Dodd, graduated from Inglewood High School. For 25 plus years I've been in the neighborhood. And I just think that it's a no-brainer that our president is from here and have such strong ties to here. Why not Chicago? Why not? But here's my thing, and this will be a great inspiration for generations and generations and generations to come. I want this library to be here for personal reasons because I'm from here, but then at the same time, I don't want it to be here and push people out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is David Kay. I'm the executive director of a program called Metro Squash. We're building a facility on 61st and Cottage Grove, combining the game of squash with academics, high school and college access. And we wanted to express our organization's support of the Presidential Library coming to the South Side at any location, Washington Park, Jackson Park. And I also wanted to bring one of our students to express their support. She's been with the program 9 years and is one of the great examples of what kids can do on the South Side, given a lot of support.
Hi, my name is Precious Rooks. I'm currently a student at Denison University and a Metro Squash alum. I think that this library would be a great contribution to the community for the South Side, University of Chicago, and the Metro Squash students, because not only will it provide a place for them to study, but I honestly believe that this could culturally enrich the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could you hold while we call the next speakers? And let me say at this point, we will be here at least until 3 o'clock. We have many more speakers to hear from. I would ask if you have heard your point of view expressed by previous speakers, that you opt to forego coming to the microphone if at all possible. If you do not get a chance to speak today, you can always submit written testimony, and you can come down to the Park District Board of Commissioners meeting, which is always open to the public, and render your view there as well. My fellow commissioners are likely to be leaving in about 15 minutes. Commissioner, I will remain, and Superintendent Kelly will remain until 3 o'clock. So we urge you to try to make your remarks concise. Remember to be courteous to everybody who's here, and we will proceed. Thank you so much. Let her call the 6 people, please.
Mr. Black, Monica Haslip, Don Brasford, Fabia Harris, Marinette Gills, and Karen Shine.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Malcolm. I am a realtor with App Properties, and I have been in real estate for the last 10 years, primarily focusing on the development, community development of Washington Park, Bronzeville, as well as Woodlawn. And I just want to say that it is my job to analyze the impact that such developments would have in the community, and being that I am all for the building of the Presidential Library in Washington Park, I do feel that it would be a great access to the community, especially in an area where we do hear nothing but bad news coming out of it on a regular basis. Me being a young guy myself, I know the impact that it would have on other people my age and younger, seeing something so great, and also seeing other museums and areas such as the Katy, Notenberg Museum, Nature Museum in Lincoln Park. I think it would be a great access to have such a place in Washington Park so we can represent ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Black, thank you.
Yes. Well, I think that our previous speakers did just about everything that I say, but I can say this, that I am, December the 7th, I was 96 years old. And 95 plus of those years has been spent on the south side of Chicago in Brownsville. Now, my interest as an educator is how does this promote and solidify and stabilize our community? And I can think of no other greater source that would help to do that than the bringing of the President's Library to Chicago on the south side, and my preference is Washington Park. And I say that because so much history, I wish I had the time. Sweet Charlie Brown and his group, who play here every time, was a student of mine at DuSable. Charlie Brown and his group, most of them, went on to break the barriers of segregation at places like the University of Illinois, the University of Indiana, and across the country. They have left a legacy, and that's true of so many other places on the south side. But in this park, I saw Joe Louis run. I saw Metcalf and all those stars, and that inspired me. And these places in the park that have invigorated many of us in my generation and generation before deserve. So if I had the time, it would be much more. But my idea is the library would prove to the world and to people here that if you're prepared, you can do the impossible. And that library would justify and give that reverence. The park belongs in Chicago on the south side in Washington Park. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please.
Good afternoon. My name is Don Bransford, and I'll start by saying I believe the library belongs on the south side of Chicago. What I don't believe is the process that we got here. I can't believe that we're being forced in 2 days to go through a hearing that should have happened months ago. We're now in a process where we're talking about the other sites have been discounted and we can only talk about these 2 sites. And we're told that we want to pattern the first urban library after a cornfield in Texas. It makes no sense. We don't need 30 acres to build an urban library. What we need is an urban site. The 11 acres across Martin Luther King Drive will do it. We don't need to take parkland to do this. We don't need to take control. We need to build a site. There is one positive I will give you from putting it in Washington Park. It will take down those egregious speed cameras that they stuck out here as a toll booth in our park. Finally,
1 minute
we can do
remaining.
That's really enough. All we want is to go back and build a realistic site here, not something that would have been in a cornfield in Texas.
Thank you. Ms. Haslip.
Good afternoon. My name is Monica Haslip. I'm the founder and executive director of Little Black Pearl. So first and foremost, I'd like to have a few of my students that I see out here stand, because I want us to keep in mind what this is about. The principles of education, entrepreneurship, economic development, and community transformation have been pivotal to why Little Black Pearl was established 2 decades ago. LBP believes that all children deserve to have a great opportunity, engage in rigorous education, cultural and artistic exploration, while learning how that journey impacts their life. The Obama Presidential Library, located anywhere on the south side of Chicago, will have a powerful impact on education. In the words of Brianna, who is a 12th grader at Little Black Pearl, she said, "Building the Obama Library on Chicago's south side will be extremely beneficial to the entire neighborhood. However, it should accomplish more than that. It should be built to aid reworking the social, psychological structure, as well as the historical foundation of this community. A project such as this can and will encourage youth to have pride in their community and themselves. So I believe that this is absolutely what we deserve and what our children deserve in this community. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Please.
My name is Jack Taylor. My family has been in Bronzeville for 110 years. I grew up here in Bronzeville. I have seen everything that the university have done to my community. I am not against the Barack Obama Library in the South Side in Washington Park, but not in the Park District land. This park is for everybody. Daniel Burnham gave us that land for that only all of the people, not some of the people, but everybody to enjoy. And I know that the University of Chicago never keeps its word. If they are doing something this fast, then they have an ulterior motive. It most likely has to do with the Calumet Trail, but I don't want to go there with you. All I want to say is we do want this library, but not only do you have the 11 acres right there on the other side of King Drive, a little bit southwest of your acres that you own, there's another 15 acres of vacant land right there that you can do whatever you want. I am urging the park districts not to give them that land inside the park, but make them use the land that is sitting there vacant with nothing on it right now. Please be a good neighbor this time and not just try and take everything that you can get. I have seen you devastate my community for the last 50 years, and this time it's not going to happen. And Diet High School will not be touched. You will not change your word on that.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. You have to tilt it down. You have to turn the whole thing. Can you help her?
My name is Juanita Burris. I am a 35-year resident of Woodlawn. I want to speak to the significance of the Barack Obama Presidential Library to the whole world. I want to take the perspective of a proud Obama supporter who worked very hard in community organizing when he was just a state senator. And the people in the South Side didn't really pay much attention to him when he came to our Come Home to Woodlawn jazz event, when he came to our Woodlawn Community School local school council meeting, when he came to our February History Month event in the corridor. And now that he is president of the country and he has shown the world what a first African American president can do, not just for us in America, but for the whole world. So I want to speak.
Excuse me just one second. Mr. Blakemore, please respect the process. Please respect the process.
I want to speak to how, in some profound way, Barack Obama and Michelle has been given to the world. You know, we want them to come home, even though we don't see them anymore for 8 years. But he really belongs.
1 minute remaining.
He belongs to history. And I would be very happy if the next, I don't know if it takes 10 years to build a library, but if the next Bud Billiken parade, it already exists, and we still will find Barack heading the Bud Billiken parade, and it's coming down Martin Luther King Drive.
Thank you very much. Can you please announce the next 6 speakers?
Gary Olsenwald, Dolores Griffin, Carlos, the spelling of the last name is Trigleth.
Hello.
Mr. Shaw, Jack Taylor.
Hello, my name is Melanie Moore. I am a lifetime Chicagoan and 11-year resident of Woodlawn. Just to answer Mr. Murray's question about people, I also work with Friends of the Parks, the advocacy organization. To answer Mr. Murray's question of when was the last time Friends of the Park was in the park, I was actually there this morning. I crossed the Midway Plazons. And so I take this very seriously, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about that. And so, let's see here. I really have big concerns about I am in support of the 11-acre site west of King Drive that is at Garfield and King, and it uses the University of Chicago's own land. As far as my organization, we have the audacity to hope for a presidential library that reflects the leading edge character of our president's achievements. And we have concerns about the city of Chicago and the Chicago Park District's leadership and mindset that public open space is expendable and that the public process is optional. What the gentleman just said, we have 2 days to make this decision and run and rush. I have deep concerns about that process. We have known that Barack Obama was going to have a presidential library as soon as he accepted the oath of office. We knew that this was coming to Chicago, possibly, and that we should have been prepared accordingly. Many of you may not have known or attended the other meeting. The Washington Park, as it is eligible to be on the historic landmark. And so putting the presidential library can jeopardize that process, and we just need to be aware of that. I also wanted to address the notion that you're either for the parks or you're for children. These two things are not mutually exclusive. We can cooperate and get this done. It's not the parks or this, the parks or that. These two things are not mutually exclusive. They do not limit one another. There's enough energy for both to exist and coexist well at a high level.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay, finally, in closing, I just want to say that I don't like this notion also of the blank check syndrome where we as the public must give up our own land, our public open space, and then we're told to say, trust me, it's going to be great. We're giving limited information where we're not included in the process. It's just, oh, by the way, come out next week via the media. Say, come on out next week via the media, but we're not really including this process. It's more of a covert thing. And also, I just want to say in closing, bring it on home, but not in the park. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dolores Griffin, and my plea is to God that He put it on President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama's heart. I am a student now at Chicago State University. I am going to receive my Bachelor's of Science degree in occupational therapy. I left school in the 12th grade after the first semester, and I stayed out of school for 23 years. I graduated from Kennedy King College. My point is that I left school and I joined the game. Praise God. Actually, give me a minute, ma'am. I come from Inglewood community, 55th and Damon. So Washington Park is where we had a place to come. Sherman Park is the library. My plea to God and to the president is to put the library here. My sons, I have a 15-year-old, and I have a 22-year-old who graduated from college. I graduated last year. I'll graduate in 2016. My plea is to put the library here so that the young men and boys and girls and the seniors and the babies can have somewhere to go. People like me can help teach them new technology.
1 minute remaining.
Thank you, ma'am. I can help teach because I went back to school so that I can give back. Who else tore the community up but people like me? I stand before you because I'm not ashamed. God uses people. So I'm asking you, President Obama, bring it back home. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you call the next 6 names?
Bob Michelson, Reefa Johnson, Stephanie Shanes, Stephanie Franklin, Alicia Bond,
I'm going to ask respectfully if you will shorten your remarks a little so that we can try to get through the many, many people who still would like to speak.
Thank you. My name is Carlos Triglaff. I have been involved in this thing since 1988. I had a phone call when I was sitting up at Walter Reed Military Hospital for about 6 months from a guy named Eric Hatchett. He used to be president of Jackson Park Community Council. Through him, I met Cecilia Butler. I find it repugnant, but in the Chicago way that we get this put on us to be rammed down our throats. Through the University of Chicago with a $4 billion endowment. I feel that haven't they torn up Woodlawn and South Shore and Hyde Park enough? Haven't so many programs to benefit the community that have been put in place? They've got the land, you don't hear about it anymore. They don't pay water, they don't pay light, but when your street get tore up, you get a tip. To other so-called stakeholders, to the Leon Finneys, to the Braziers, who used to run the Stones, the D's, and supposed to get up here and help us again. And then to the same university who's expunged everything, right, to bring us down, to come back to this same thing. You want to take part of the land of the community, of the Park District, when we ain't giving you damn near 40 or 50 blocks, control of a whole neighborhood, but then you say you want more? Then to the pinstripe pimps, right? The educational ones we have, the community ones we have, here we are again, vultures at the door, we sitting up, all of us kicked out, taxes higher, the ones who trying to stay in the community are pulverized, who are middle guys, and then somebody with a PhD gonna get up and tell me I have the right to pimp you.
Please conclude. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bob Michelson, and I'm a native Chicagoan. I'm also an alumnus of the University of Chicago, which embarrasses me a lot. And I'm a member of the University of Chicago Alumni for a Trauma Center, and there are a lot of other things the university should be doing. But there's one thing that hasn't been mentioned here so far as I can see. The John F. Kennedy Presidential Library is on 10 acres. 10 acres. And the 11.5 acres that's part of the Washington Park site that we saw described, that's across on the west side of King Drive, is a big space. Now, 10 acres is a huge space. If those of you who know the old Stagg Field, where now the Regenstein, that's 10 acres. So the Regenstein Library that has 4.5 million volumes, the Mansueto Library that has 3.5 million volumes, the Max Pilevsky Residential Commons, the Bartlett Gymnasium, now Bartlett Hall, the renowned Statue Nuclear Energy, and a lot of green space is all on that space. You can do a lot on 11 acres, and the Kennedy Library shows it. And I want the library to be on the south side. I want it to be in the Washington Park neighborhood. I don't think it should take the parkland.
Thank you. While she's coming to the microphone, could you call the next speakers? We are going to try to limit our remarks to 90 seconds so that we can continue to hear from everybody, particularly since a lot of the points of view have been expressed multiple times now. Please call the speakers.
Ms. Eltavisa Hall, Sandra Bivens, Kanice is the first name, Emmanuel Henderson, Adam Day, Leroy Bowers, Melinda Moore, and Alina Guzman.
I remind you that my fellow commissioners may depart during the course of these comments, and it doesn't reflect any point of view about the things that you're saying here. Please proceed.
Good afternoon. I will be as brief as I can. I want to emphasize a couple of points. The first is, parks are not land banks. They are not empty spaces waiting to be developed. They are developed. They are park. And land is irreplaceable. Once you've lost it to something else, there is no more land left. The reason that people want their precious jewel in a park is because, of course, our parks are spectacular. They're supposed to be, and they enhance anything that's put in them, but they are limited. There are only that many square inches of land that we have, and we need every one of them. And I'd just like to emphasize again how big they're saying the library has to be, how much land it has to take. 20 acres. If you think of an ordinary football field, including the end
30
zones,
seconds remaining.
1.5 acres. 20 acres is 13 1/3 football fields. That is enormous. Enormous chunk that would come out of the park. It should be on the south side. It should be here in Woodlawn, in the community, but not in the park.
Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, friends and family of the Park District. My name is Altavita Hall. The South Side is the birthplace of our president legacy, as well as it should become tangible, and the monument that holds the records of his launch onto the world stage. The seed was planted here, and so the tree should rise here. Thank you, our president, number one.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Sandra Bivens, the Executive Director of the 51st Street Business Association. And we are always working to encourage economic development within the Washington Park and the Bronzeville community. And quite frankly, the Barack Obama Library is going to be a massive economic development engine for our communities. And I have been sitting here listening to the negatives and the positives of this whole situation. And there is always a negative and positive of this situation when it's a project this big. But the key that I have learned over the years of 30 years of planning is that bringing all this together, and let's look at the good and look at the bad and see how we can come to a win-win situation. For instance, okay, some of you all might not want the park, but they might get the park, so we might say, let's get an architect that knows how to mix the environment so that the library becomes part of the environments instead of tearing down 150 trees from the environments. Okay, we need jobs. We need an MBE, WBE council that should be part of this project to make sure that we have the jobs and the education and all the projects and programs that they're saying that we're going to have. I'm just saying that it's nothing that can't be worked out. The key thing is that we get the library here. We're going to work this out, but the University of Chicago has to be open to compromise and sitting down with the community and let's working it out and get on paper and then show it to you so you know they ain't lying, okay?
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Leroy Bowers with the Washington Park Advisory Council. I know the commissioner only wanted one speaker. I didn't know in the head. Can I go ahead with the 90 seconds?
Please proceed.
Thank you.
As briefly as possible.
Yes, yes, we need the library here. Support this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Bring the Presidential Library home right here in Washington Park. I've coached over 40 years in Washington Park, raised a lot of children, a lot of coaches. What culminated out of that is a Jackie Robinson West Championship for Chicago. Now we are looking for a Presidential Library Championship right here in Washington Park in Chicago. So we want all of and everyone's support, the yays and the nays. We need everybody to get together and bring it home. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please. Okay. Thank you, commissioners. Please call the names.
Dolores, spelling of the last name is Vilanos. Ralph Metcalf. Deborah Smith. Andre Smith. Jeanette, B-R-I-D, Brittle, it looks like. Marion Funches. Patrick McCoy. Ronald Jackson. Mary Bolwin.
Please proceed.
Welcome to my neighborhood. I'm Ralph Metcalf Jr. I grew up around here. Thank you. As a matter of fact, in June of 1961, I graduated from elementary school in this room on that stage. I'm proud of that. It seems to me that this opportunity to trade a sliver of parkland for the library of America's first black president is a great bargain. It would extend and tremendously enhance, not degrade, this park. Burnham and Olmsted would approve of the beautiful gardens that would result. Trust the First Lady. The rich history of this locale distinguishes it from the other proposed sites. DuSable High School graduates include not only our beloved Timuel D. Black, Nat King Cole, Red Fox, Gwendolyn Brooks, Vivian G. Harsh, Quincy Jones, and John H. Johnson. And then there was the Rosenwald Building. No
30
time
seconds
getting into that.
remaining.
Our Chicago blues changed the world. Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and others made a music that ignited a worldwide explosion in rock and roll, led by the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and later Jimi Hendrix. Chuck Berry had blacks and whites jumping across the rope in segregated dances. And who can forget Bo Diddley? He went to DuSable too, you know. Alderman Ralph Metcalf put DuSable Museum in this park in 1970. Not since the 1930 opening of the Shedd Aquarium had
You
there
have
been.
exceeded 90 seconds. Please make your final remarks.
Now it's time for one more institution. Let's bring it on home.
Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Hi, my name is Andre Smith, candidate for Alderman of the 20th Ward. I'm appalled of this disrespectful, informative process. The aldermen should have had a series of dialogue and informal discussions. This happened a year ago. The plan was a year ago. And now we got to make a rush decision, like the Skyway, a rush decision, like the parking meters, a rush decision. But if we're going to bring it home, because we got development all throughout the city, but we have no jobs. If we're going to bring it home, let's bring it home with a trauma center to save our youth that's dying every day. If we're going to bring it home, let's bring it home with some grocery stores to feed healthy food for our people.
30 seconds remaining.
If we're going to bring it home, let's bring it home with a real strong community benefit agreement. Lastly, I think it's very disrespectful for the commissioners to walk out on the people that houses may be taken by eminent domain. Very disrespectful.
I have to take objection to that because I said at the beginning of the meeting, and I repeat it, you probably weren't here at the time, but I said that the commissioners have to go to take care of the business before them. And I said that before the meeting started. So I think it's a very unfair attack on them, and I can't allow you to do that.
So with all due respect, let's reverse it. The commissioners are sitting in that seat. We're in the eminent domain, their houses. They would like for us to hear them.
The Park District does not do eminent domain.
Well, we're talking about the project.
You are deviating from the whole purpose of this meeting.
We're talking about the project.
You are deviating from the whole purpose of this meeting. Please conclude your remarks.
Well, here's my last question. When you go back, are these testimonies, these hundreds and thousands of testimonies, are you going to revisit them and consider them in your judgment, in your final answer or your conclusion?
There is no issue before the board at this time.
Exactly.
Please proceed.
First of all, recognizing God, who's truly the head of my life. To this beautiful commissioner board of whatever part that you're playing, and to the community leaders. My name is Mary Baldwin. This is Mattie Jean Wiley. We are from the Chicago Housing Authority. We are two of the LAC president that represent every entire body president of public housing and residents. Let me say that when President Barack was running for senator, we brought him to our meeting, and we said to him, if you get in there, and we're going to put you in there, when we ask you for something, we want you to be there for us. We don't want you to do like other political people did, and we helped them, and then they came up with excuses. And he said to us—
30 seconds remaining.
Okay. He said to us, whatever you asked us for, we're going to do it. Today, as we stand here, represent public housing resident, the LAC president that represent public housing, we say to you, to the First Lady Michelle Obama, grab President Barack by the hand and make him remember what he said to us, and bring this library to Washington Park. Today, for the first time, we have never asked you for anything else.
You have exceeded
We're
90
asking
seconds.
you
Please
today,
make your final remarks.
from the public housing to bring, and the LAC bring this library to Washington Park, and everything else will fall in place, jobs and everything else we need. Once we get the library, we can deal with the other. God bless you all, and let's get this
Please
library,
conclude.
sweetheart, to Washington Park. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You may proceed.
My name is Patrick McCoy. I'm president of Diaspora Rhythms, an art organization here on the South Side. I'm a lifelong resident of the South Side, born on 63rd Street, went to the University of Chicago, like some other people that I actually am embarrassed. Our organization is already on record for supporting the concept of having the Presidential Library in Washington Park. But we were deluded. We did not sign on to the concept of the library being in Washington Park, the property of this district. We are opposed to that. We think that the library should be on the land that the university already owns, the 11-acre land. That is more than enough. It should be quite sufficient. Now, we are dismayed that when yesterday the architect shows a plan of the two sites, and there's only a blue dot on the map.
30 seconds remaining.
And Chicago is a city of great architecture. If an architect, after years of being involved, can only show you a blue dot, that means that something is wrong with the process. Is that there should have been an architectural rendering to say this is what we're planning to do. The fact that they don't indicates that they truly did not have the concept of land rights control, because the architect can only design from on the land that they know the building is going to be on. So our position is
you have exceeded 90
definitely
seconds.
put
Please
the park
conclude.
in, but have it in Washington Park, but not on the Park District property.
Thank you. I think I have to make a point of clarity, which is to say that the design of the facility is not something that is under the auspices of the City of Chicago, the Park District, or University of Chicago. That process, as well as the whole process of working out community benefits and all of those things, happen once a site has been determined, and that this is the start of a very long process, a very long public process. This discussion here today has solely to do with whether or not there is the possibility of having the Presidential Library on either a site in Washington Park or Jackson Park. So the issue of design, the issue of what the center will be, how it will be operated, all of those things are yet to be determined, and those are not determinants that we have control of. Please proceed.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Marianne Funches, and I grew up in the Woodlawn area. I lived on 62nd and Kimbark. I attend a church in Woodlawn area called Common Core Missionary Baptist Church, where the pastor is Dr. Reverend Kenneth David Phelps. I go to Perspectives Middle Academy. I'm an 8th grade scholar at Perspectives Middle Academy. I used to go to Woodlawn Community School on 63rd and Kimbart, where they taught us African culture. So I, as an 8th grade scholar at Perspectives Middle Academy who dreams big and go places, don't want to pick sides on if the library should go in the Jackson Park area or the Washington Park area, because if I took anything out of listening to President Barack Obama, it was yes, we can. So if I take that out of that, I think that yes, we can have a voice on where this library should go and not be optioned to only 2 places. I also believe that I also wanted
30
to
seconds
share.
remaining.
I also wanted to share with you a quote from an inspiring female, which was "Alone we are glitter, and together we shine" by Miltra Sen. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you start, can we call the next 6 speakers?
Michael Donahue, Juanita Burrs, Ernie Aware.
Are any of these people on hand? Please come forward.
I can't read it.
Continue.
Emily Gose, Mary Hartsfield, Alex Goldenberg,
Thank you. Please proceed.
Let's give that young man a hand, an 8th grader. My name is Stephen Dyson, and I'm a clinical mental health professional across the city of Chicago, West Side, South Side, Woodlawn, Inglewood. I strongly endorse the Obama's library. However, I strongly oppose the mayor of this city endorsing this library. Sometimes we have a short memory. I remember the first year he was elected, he wanted to close the CPL, the Chicago Public Libraries. He wanted to cut the staff and shorten the hours. And all of a sudden, he wants to get on a bandwagon about the Obama Library. He also cut 6 mental health clinics here in the city of Chicago.
Sir, can you confine your remarks to this potential sighting?
Yes. I strongly endorse the Obama's library,
30
but
seconds remaining.
I oppose the mayor's involvement in this process because it's hypocritical.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Hartsfield. I'm a lifetime resident on the west side of Chicago. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak today. I'm a supporter of one of the candidates that's running for mayor, William Doc Walls,
Please
of
be
the city of
respectful.
Chicago. I am still stunned by a mayor of the city of Chicago closing down 52 schools. Now he wants to support a library. What kind of sense does that make to you? It don't make any sense to me. I am supporting the library coming to the south side of Chicago because I also work with the children on the south side of Chicago in the Inglewood community. Also, I'm an ordained minister, and I pray that y'all make the right decision and allow the people of the community to be a part of this process. It's always a time when you come into the community and don't allow people to be a part of the process. It's a travesty that you all come in here, pack this room like this, let us come up in here, and then tell us that the process is a long process, but you was thinking about this process a year ago.
Can you conclude your remarks?
I'm finna complete my remarks. Thank you. I'm also involved with an organization called Warriors on the Watch. It's a production company for the youth in the community in Inglewood. We want you to bring the library to the south side, but we want you to bring the money back to the community and open up our schools.
Thank you very much. Please proceed.
Hi, my name is Alex Goldenberg. I work with a group called STOP, which is the group that's fighting to save the mental health clinics, which fights for affordable housing in our community. It's fighting for a trauma center on the south side. And I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again, this is a very simple land grab. This is about privatization. It is about taking public resources and giving it over to a private institution so they can be enriched and benefit. And this library is simply about more power and more prestige for the University of Chicago. And we have to understand who we are up against. This hearing process, just like the closure of the 50 schools that our mayor pushed through, is a sham, all right? I know that right now I'm not talking to the mayor, I'm not talking to Susan Scher, Derek Douglas, and I'm not talking to the Park District representatives. I'm only talking to you in this room. And that's all we've been doing. This is an echo chamber, so let's make the most of it, all right? Because the University of Chicago is currently going through a $4.5 billion fundraising campaign. They are getting richer and more powerful by the
30 seconds
second.
remaining.
And it is up to us to organize and fight back. We have the power to demand things from them. They may be the company in the company town, but we have power, all right? And that's our people power. Okay, we have an election coming up. We can demand change.
Please conclude
And it's
your
up
remarks.
to us to get organized and to fight for that change. So I hope you will join us in fighting for a trauma center. Hope you'll join us in fighting for community benefits. And what he said.
Thank you. Are there more speakers?
Yes. Ronald Jones, Martin Joyce, Jay Paramore, Adam Day, Cassandra Francis.
She spoke already. Please line up at both microphones. And if you have submitted a card and your name has not been called, it's quite possible that some of the names who have been called are no longer here. So please come forward and make sure that your name is still in that pile. Keep reading, please.
William Eager, Els Townsend, Sarah Bransfield, David Adams, Pat Smith,
Is that all the cards, Hema? Yeah. All right. We're good. Yeah, just split everybody up in half. Yeah. Maybe we can get word out. Somebody
Okay.
in the hallway. So what you were saying, there's some people outside. I don't think that's really left.
All right, please proceed.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Ronald Jones, Sr. I'm a United States Honorable Disabled Veteran. I am 61 years old. If God let me live, I will be 62 March 16th. And in my lifetime, I hope and I pray to God that this presidential library come here to Chicago, not only for my sake, but for my grandchildren's sake, that they have something to look forward to so that when they get to some age and get to the size, that they have something to look forward to, and they can say that, hey, we had a black president. They can show their children something, that this was true. I don't know how much time that I have here, because I'm going to be with God.
30 seconds remaining.
But I do know one thing, and I will say this unto you all. It is time that our young folks stop hurting and killing one another because God is angry. And it's time that we stop talking down on our young people, talk to them, not at them.
Please conclude.
God bless you all and have a good day.
Thank you. You can proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Irena Jackson Taylor. I'm a Bronzeville resident and a member of the Coalition to Revitalize Dyett High School. We are very concerned about the motives of the University of Chicago and the Obama Library in Washington Park. Dyett is a jewel in Washington Park, and we will not tolerate a backdoor deal between the University of Chicago, the Chicago Park District, and the Chicago Public Schools to include the Diet site for the Obama Public Library. Any other plan besides the Diet Global Leadership and Green Technology High School is unacceptable. We will not let the last open enrollment Chicago Public High School in Bronzeville become collateral damage for the library that might or might not come to the south side of Chicago. And I'm also a proud graduate of the Windy City Harvest Program from the Chicago Botanic Garden, and there is a garden in Washington Park. It is the Chicago Botanic Youth Farm that actually used to employ students from Diet High School, which has now been disenfranchised and disinvested in, and now those children have nowhere to actually have a job. You've already privatized the gym. How much more do you want? Thank you.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Hi, I'm here to register a vote. I vote it not be in the park. It's not necessary. There's plenty of empty land. And some of that is at 5426 and 5428 South King Drive, where I drove by yesterday. I thought, well, I'm going to go to this meeting and I better know what I'm talking about. I drove down King Drive. I was at the red light. I watched school children walking home in the street next to moving cars because the university can't get a shovel out and clear the sidewalk. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna post on Indiegogo or some such site, and I'm gonna get some crowdfunding going and buy them a shovel. I am livid. You talk about the children and what you're gonna do for the children. Do something for the children today and go shovel the damn walk.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Hi, my name is Princella Jaribu Lee, and I am a homeowner in Washington Park, and I'm here on behalf of the Coalition to Revitalize Diet High School. The coalition is comprised of such incredible organizations as the DuSable Museum, the Chicago Teachers Union, Chicago Botanic Gardens, UIC, and a whole host of other incredible organizations. We are not opposed to the Obama Library, think that it would be amazing on the south side of Chicago, but we need a community benefits agreement now. We need a community benefits agreement to protect Diet High School so the Diet Global Leadership and Green Technology High School can be implemented as our last open enrollment CPS-operated school. We also need a community benefits agreement to ensure that the economic development, the economic growth, the jobs, the displacement that we want to make sure is avoided we need to make sure we have a community benefits agreement, that local hiring, minority businesses, et cetera, that has to be in the form of a community benefits agreement. The promise of education has been broken in our community and in our city.
30 seconds remaining.
As a result, we developed a visionary plan for our school and have motivated and mobilized thousands of people across the community and beyond. We want the Diet Global Leadership Green Technology Plan at Diet, and we want a community benefits agreement now to protect it. Thank you.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Francis Banks. I was born here in Chicago, right on 38th and South Park. At that time, I'm now 73. I have seen how University of Chicago have destroyed different areas. I've seen them destroy Woodlawn. I've seen them try to take control of everything. We need to bring a library here. We need a trauma center first. We need grocery stores in this area. This is a food desert because we don't need anything if we can't eat. How do we feed our babies? Our kids, the mayor closed 50 of our schools. I am ashamed to say I was born here 73 years ago. Walked down Washington Park. I was in the parade. Buck Billiken, they done took it university and took over all this property and just destroyed everything. It's really pitiful. We need Obama Library, but we also need prosperity, and it should be on the other side of King Drive, not in Washington Park.
Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Paula Robinson, the Bronzeville Community Development Partnership.
Chicago's Black Belt holds what the National Park Service defines as a significant American story, that of the Great Migration. It is a continuing story of hope and change that carried more than 500,000 people to Chicago in search of the promised land. It is the same story that brought a young organizer here with an innate understanding that if his dream to become the first Black president was possible, it was most probable here, where a road to the White House had already been paved. Barack Obama chose wisely to bring his dream to Chicago, and I know that he will choose Chicago again. However, to get it, we must choose to get it right. No more winning ugly. Winning ugly would be allowing our president to fight for health care reform when Providence Hospital, where open heart surgery was invented, stands without a trauma center at the forefront of medicine. Winning ugly is asking a community to sign on to a plan that has not been made public and then to participate in an after-the-fact process to support the use of public land. Winning ugly is having time for months of conversation and dialogue, but not having enough time to develop a formal community benefit agreement, even though your first step was to assemble a community advisory board. The winning ugly list cannot afford to get any longer, so let's get it right. We should be talking with the city of Chicago, not the Chicago Park District, its sister agency. The issue is not hardly about 22 acres or
You have
putting a
exceeded 90
museum in
seconds.
the park.
Please make your final
All
remark.
of our museums are in the park. We were going to place an Olympic stadium in the middle of Washington Park. This is about whether or not this city, these universities, and more importantly, the people in these communities are going to work together on a plan for revitalization. The president has clearly stated that he wants to see an economic development plan. We have a plan. It needs to be respected, acknowledged, and in this hurried process, I will hurry to my last points. In closing, please know that even though we are being rushed, we are demanding 3 things. 1, the city of Chicago must ensure that a community benefit agreement is executed as part of the bid proposal for the Obama Library. 2, we are looking for full support for the Black Metropolis National Heritage Area designation to designate the support that's required over the 15 years, and the investment of replacing parkland should be a 2-to-1 ratio throughout the National Heritage Area. In conclusion,
please conclude.
Got you. Millions of people will again be traveling to Chicago. Let us fulfill the hope of the promised land and showcase it through our president's very own story. As he came, let others follow and be inspired. When we are really ready to bring this on home, we will win.
Thank you. You can proceed.
My name is Sherry Williams. I'm the founder and director of Bronzeville Historical Society, and I'd like to place on the record that I'm absolutely opposed to having the Obama Library placed inside of either Park District properties. I secondly want to say that Bronzeville, or we should be speaking more broadly about the south side of Chicago, is like no other place in the nation. It is where the widespread explosion of gospel and jazz and also blues, thank you, exploded all over the globe. And so we know that the placement of the Obama Library inside of the south side of Chicago would be a tremendous way of highlighting the importance of the historical integrity of the neighborhood, as well as highlighting the fact that the largest number of African American migrants came from the South and made home the south side of Chicago. So as the president and director of the Bronzeville Historical Society, I just wanted to place on the record that I wholeheartedly do not support having the site of the Obama Library placed in either park.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Clayton Harris III, with respect to all the speakers before and the issues that are there, to the point on whether the Park District should give up land for the site of the Obama Presidential Library. My push in advocacy is yes. As a homeowner, I walked here, I live 2 blocks away. I walk my son through this park every week, spring, summer, and fall. I now have another little boy that I look forward to walking through this park every week, every weekend. We swim over here. And I can think of nothing better to enhance that walk that we walk through, my 2-year-old son and my newborn son will have, than to culminate it at the end of the walk at the Presidential Library, our first black president who's from here. We are talking about a sliver of Washington Park. I respect the green open, but this shouldn't be trees and grass versus change and hope. But it seems like that's what it's coming to. I am advocating for that sliver, the 12 acres to 15 acres versus the 400, that we walk through here, that we still see the horseback riding, that
30
we swim.
seconds remaining.
Absolutely. So to the point, Michael, Avis, to the aldermen that were here, and to everyone else here, as a father with my 2 little black boys, I can think of nothing better than to culminate our walk through Washington Park at the Presidential Library for Barack Obama.
Thank you very much. Please proceed.
My name is Yvette LeGrand. I was born here, and I have been back here for over 30 years. I'm a little schizoid. I'm a history major with an MBA, which means I know what's happened. I also know how to add and subtract. I'm also a preservationist, but I believe that preservation is a tool to build and to rebuild healthy communities. To utilize some modest amount of parkland for this historic initiative maximizes its commercial development appeal without completing the job of totally destroying the rest of the fabric of the surrounding communities, provides an opportunity to build upon our important historical structure and cultural assets that we have here. The option to combine park and non-park land gives us the optimum transportation utility, an urban vibe, and a great outdoor space, a combination that is rare in a close-in civic asset. For those who say there's enough vacant land without using the public park, they're mistaken. There is not enough. Some of those people see through eyes that have identified all of our community as blighted and have done so for the last 75 years. They do not see our homes, our small businesses, our churches, and certainly not our community.
30 seconds remaining.
To plan a park with a lot of things that we do not use is perhaps a tool to preserve the vision of Daniel Burnham. But Daniel Burnham did not plan for us. If you want us to come back to the park, put the Obama Presidential Library there, and we will come and bring our families much more often. Thank you.
Thank you. You can proceed, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Evangelist Elder Paula J. Watson. I'm a resident here in Hyde Park. And with all the people here today, it's very obvious that we want the Obama Library constructed here. And there should have been a list for us to sign also to show President Obama how many people are in support of this library. Our children need this library to excel more in school, and it would be an honor for us to have the Obama Library either in Hyde Park or Washington Park. Some of us adults also need the library for our enhancement and encouragement. We need to encourage our children. Having a library named after the President of the United States will be an encouragement to our children. President Obama and his family also come here at times. A library in his honor should be put here either in Hyde Park or Washington Park, whichever place would be most beneficial. And also I'd like to add, if there's another meeting called, adequate seating should be available to the people so that we won't have to be standing up. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. You can proceed, please.
Hi, my name is Greg Mooney. I'm a Southside resident, and I serve as the executive director of the Gary Comer Youth Center and the Comer Foundation. On behalf of the Youth Center and the Foundation, I'm here to offer our enthusiastic support of both of these proposals. We can only come at this, with the lens of the young people that we serve. That's the work that we do. That's what we're steeped in. And I am reminded of an extraordinary opportunity we had 2 years ago during the Chicago NATO Summit. Another experience that was controversial going into it. And the Gary Comer Youth Center had the great privilege of hosting the First Lady and international guests in an effort to allow our young people to shine and to shine on an international stage. And what we were able to experience through that was how their worldview was changed. They left that day walking a few inches higher, walking taller, and their whole outlook on
30
their
seconds
world was
remaining.
changed. That was one day. So we feel very strongly that this library can be life-changing for thousands of young people all throughout Chicago, all throughout the country, and internationally, and believe that situating it with these gems of parks will help elevate those spaces to truly international world class. So strong support from our end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please proceed.
Jay Paramore, a simple Chicago citizen who's had a family business in Washington Park. All due respect, I was thinking about the gentleman who was talking about a sliver of land. I'm kind of reminded of a reball joke that the young man said to his girlfriend at the end of the date.
Please don't repeat
So we're
it.
not going to go there. You know, I was just thinking, the issue doesn't seem to be about the park itself, but the idea we have access to areas outside the park, the environs. Another gentleman was mentioning about the fact that we don't have a clear plan of how it's going to look, just a blue dot. As I was about to joke, I could put on Mickey Mouse gloves and tell you I got Disneyland, doesn't mean anything's going to be true about it. Now, here's the issue. Apparently, something happened that we have a choice between Columbia making a decision if we don't make one or someplace in Hawaii. You guys have your power and purview during these hearings to make a decision on where it's going to be if it's within park districts. I don't know what kind of power and influence you have outside that park district, but all that's been said and done comes down to one thing. We do want to have a park. It comes down to Michelle, President's wife, saying that, listen, if she wants to put the park in Gary, Indiana, it'll go there with her insistence and the president's. So obviously we do want to have a park here. We just don't want them to take away the last few trees we have left remaining in this city. There's obviously a number of acres remaining all over this area. There's obviously a possibility for land grab. Let's listen to what the University of Chicago is going to speak about in their hubris, that they made an obvious mistake, assuming they could take over what they want to take. Let's have people who gather together, see what your opinion is going to be well before the demarcation time comes up. All due respect, enough said.
Thank you. Please proceed.
My name is Paul Norrington, founder of the North Lawndale Presidential Library Committee. The South Park Commission was established in 1869. That same year, the West Park Commission was established to promote growth in the newly annexed Lawndale area. Douglas Park, located entirely in North Lawndale, makes up 218 acres of Chicago's renowned park system. It was established the same year that Lawndale was incorporated into Chicago. It is a foundational part of our community. Because of that, when we were first developing our bid, North Lawndale quickly dismissed suggestions that threatened this fundamental part of who we are. We were able to do that because we, as a community, developed our own bid before approaching the University of Illinois to partner with us. Our bid wasn't imposed on us by an institution, which is usually the case in Black communities. As a small, Black, underserved community, we have stood up to compete with giants. Our victory could help similar communities across the country to realize their power.
30 seconds remaining.
Just as we have realized ours. Support our effort and help make a difference in the perception of community power. Public park land does not have to be endangered. Join us on Facebook at North Lawndale Presidential Library. Thank you.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Hi, my name is David Adams. I was born in Harlem, New York. Trust me, Columbia University and the New York City Parks Department is not talking about tearing up Central Park or Prospect Park or Edgecombe Park. Okay, they have it together. They are ready. Yeah, I would like to see the library here, but there's too much open space. It's like a third world country. You walk outside of Washington Park. That's wrong. That is wrong. It's like a third world country. 60th Street and King Drive, you have two empty blocks, nothing standing there. Nothing standing there. Across the street on 51st Street, nothing standing there. Why do you need to cut up the park? Isn't the park on the National Register? The park is on the National Register.
30 seconds remaining.
I'm finished.
Thank you, sir. Please proceed.
Jack Spicer, representing the Board of Preservation of Chicago. I'd like to read a brief statement that we
You have to step a little closer, Mr. Spicer.
I'd like to read a brief statement that we approved at our board meeting last night. While we would warmly welcome the Obama Library to the Washington Park community, we oppose the taking of public historically significant parkland from the people of Chicago to build the Obama Library. We believe this proposed taking of public parkland is unnecessary, divisive, and illegal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please proceed.
My name is William Robinson, lifelong resident of Bronzeville, grew up on 43rd. This issue about it being in the park, if it wasn't about being in the park, we probably wouldn't even have this forum, because everybody would want it. We just don't want it in the park. They're talking about a slither of land, just a little speck. But that's how we got America from the Indians. We just need a little bit of land, just a little bit of land. I can't find an Indian unless I go back to my great-grandfather somewhere. They're talking about 3,300 jobs, temporary. Once it's built, they're gone. 1,900 jobs, 2,000 jobs almost. I don't know how many security guards or librarians you need in a library, but it's not gonna be 2,000. Diet High School, one of the highest GPAs in the city, gone, crushed, demolished, obliterated. It's not gonna stand. When that wrecking ball starts, and if anybody gives in, that's gone. It's called collateral damage. It's gone. When they drop a bomb, some innocent people gonna get killed by that bomb. Collateral
30 seconds
damage.
remain.
Please conclude.
800,000 visitors a year. It peters out after so long. Then what? All right? They say, like, this Barack Obama Library, great. It could be in it could be in Lawndale, it could be on the south side. It would help the city. I'm from Bronzeville, but I don't live in Bronzeville. I live in the whole city of Chicago. It would help the whole city of Chicago. But guess what? It would help it anywhere, and it's not a magic bullet. It's not gonna just
Please
stop
conclude.
everything. It's not gonna solve all the problems. I'm gonna conclude like this. I was talking with a guy out in the hall real quick, and he was for it. And I was like, well, what is it gonna do? He said things. I said, what type of things? He said stuff. And it's gonna create jobs. What kind of jobs? You know, different jobs. What kind of jobs? There's no number. They just say jobs, things, and stuff.
Please
it's real bland.
conclude.
And it's not going anywhere. You
Thank
plenty
you.
of city land. You don't need parkland. Parks forever free.
All right. Could you hold for 1 second? Could you hold for 1 second? This is our last call for speakers. We are coming up on 3 hours of testimony. We've heard multiple views espoused multiple times. This is our last call for speakers, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sheila Townsend, and I'm a longtime resident of the Washington Hyde Park area. I live right across the street from the park. I love it. The summer is great. All that is great. But I have also visited 4 presidential libraries. I've visited one, Jimmy Carter's in Atlanta. It's in a park. Gerald Ford Library in Grand Rapids, Michigan is downtown area in a park. President Roosevelt's is in Warm Springs, Georgia. It's in a park area. Eisenhower Library is in Abilene, Kansas. It's downtown in a park area. So the park is there, and it's there to enhance it. The presentation yesterday at Hyde Park High School and today, to me, did not give us a good example of how it would look and how it would envision. I do think that was definitely missing. They didn't sell it to us, as it should have been, because I have been to these and it is enhancing. The city and the
30
park
seconds
and
remaining.
the building is enhanced. I do think it would be a good place for students to come for a good field trip to the library. So I think it would be great at the park. I live across the street from it, but I do think it would be great.
Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Yes, my name is Cheryl Johnson, and I'm from Allgill Gardens. My mother's name was the late Hazel Johnson, who was the first African-American woman to found the first environmental justice organization in the city of Chicago, if not in the Midwest. Ava, yourself, my mother cooked you some gumbo, and you sat at her kitchen table. Along with President Obama, having coffee at that table. You got gumbo. I'm here to oppose. Let me say one thing. I support the Presidential Library coming to the south side of Chicago, but I'm opposed to it being on our public land. It took our public housing. It took our public housing is gone, public education. We took 52 schools, health clinic, trauma center, and the most important, see, I know my mother, environmental legacy is going to be in that library, right? But I'm going to have a problem, my grandchildren, my nieces and nephews going there because you know what? The University of Chicago murdered my mother. Do you understand? So how am I going to fulfill my mother's legacy to go to a presidential library when it killed? You understand? January the 12th, 2011, my mother suffered for a whole year, and the University of Chicago killed her. So how can I continue her legacy? But I do. I run her organization, People for Community Club, and you shouldn't take no land from nobody.
Thank you so much. Mr. Blakemore.
Miss Lavelle, on the board of Chicago Park District. Mr. Kelly, you was appointed by the mayor of the city. So you too, I looked at my TV and I heard Mayor Emanuel say he was going to take a lead to make sure that the University of Chicago received that. So it is a political connection. And every black that come up here, let me calm down, spitting in this mic. Be aware of those who bear you gifts. Why would the University of Chicago empower black people when they have a history of racism at that institution? Chicago is known to be one of the most racist cities in the United States. So you can take it anywhere you want. I do not support it. Carry it to Houston, New York, or whatever. And President Obama was a disaster to the black community. A disaster to the black community.
Mr. Blakemore, would you conclude, please?
So I will. You are represented. You was appointed by the mayor. The mayor said this. He wanted the University of Chicago. You can see with these vacant lots, they're not going, and when you say $600 million, it's not going to come to people of color. They didn't give you your 40 acres and a mule. When you started saying they didn't give you no
Mr.
reparation,
Blakemore, would you
they didn't
conclude?
give you no reparation. Why do you think they're going to give you jobs, goods, contracts, and service? Don't be hoodwinked. Don't be hoodwinked.
Mr. Blakemore.
It's a foundation. Let the University of Chicago pay. No use the park.
Mr. Blakemore.
Taxpayer money. Miss Lavelle.
Please conclude.
Miss Lavelle now. You got the right one now spitting in this mic. You got the right one.
Please conclude, Mr. Blakemore.
My black people, don't go along with this hoodwink.
Thank you for the show. Mr. Blakemore, please conduct yourself with dignity. Please reflect the best of dignity. Thank you so much. I know you have another job to do today. Thank you.
I should have turned my slip in sooner.
I think so.
Now, for the record, my name is Butler Adams, and
Mr. Blakemore, there's someone else speaking. Bye. Have a good night. We'll see you at the Park District.
For the record, my name is Butler Adams, and I did want to say that I was 200% in support of the Barack Obama Presidential Library coming to the city of Chicago. I was born and raised here on the south side in Woodlawn, and my only connection to the U of C is that I was born there. I understand that people have fears about the U of C being involved with the project because it seems like a lot of the universities, unfortunately, have become more corporations and big business rather than to actually help to serve the people who live in the neighborhood around them. Now, while I am in support of the library coming, especially to the Washington Park area, I'm not necessarily in favor of it going directly in the park. And I certainly don't want to be a hypocrite because I am in favor of the Lucas Museum, but that's on a parking lot. It's a little bit different than using and utilizing actual green space, because once that green space is gone, it is gone. It's not just trees and grass, it's green space. It's used by a lot of people. Whenever I come through the park in the summer, it's full. It's always full of people in the summertime. And 20 acres is a lot of land. If any of you all own 20 acres, it's not like
30
cutting
minutes
the grass
remaining.
in front of your bungalow. It's a lot of land, and look how much the Armory takes up across. We've talked about other museums in the park and setting precedent. Well, a lot of these other museums weren't necessarily museums when they were built. Of course, DuSable wasn't DuSable when it was constructed in 1910. So I think that we just need to look at better spots, and we've already talked about the site right at the northwest corner of 55th and King Drive, which is 11 acres. They're talking about having 20 acres for the library itself. We haven't talked about parking or transportation or anything. On the west side, you have the CTA tracks right there.
You have
the
exceeded 9
55.
seconds.
You have the
Please
number
conclude.
3, and you also have place for above ground parking right on the west side. We just need to think about this better and not just rush it through. I want this museum as much as anyone in this room, but we have to be thoughtful.
Thank you so much. Our last speaker, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Mark Lundgren, AICP. I'm a professional planner and president of Land Pointer Limited, a planning and real estate consultancy based
You'll
in
have to
Chicago.
speak up, please.
I was born in Hyde Park. All citizens of Chicago are stakeholders who will benefit from locating the Obama Presidential Library in the city of Chicago. It is very disappointing this public process was not begun long ago. That said, I believe we should empower the City Council and our mayor to do whatever is necessary to get it located here in Chicago. We use an urban site. Any use of an urban site, particularly parkland, must minimize the building footprint and eliminate surface parking, locating it under the building or subsurface with green space above. Locating the library near the Green Line CTA stops will enhance public accessibility while reducing vehicle trips, traffic, and parking needs. The site locations proposed by the Washington Park community as an alternative, as well as both the UFC and UIC park locations, unlike other presidential libraries, many of them, they will not be isolated from the community, but will be tightly integrated into the fabric of the city of Chicago. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This concludes our public hearing for the day. I would encourage anyone who feels like their point of view has not been reflected to submit written testimony or to come down to the Chicago Park District Board of Commissioners meeting and enter public comment at that time. Again, thank you very much for coming out. There is no decision before the board. We don't have anything before us at this time. The point of this hearing is to inform us on the views of the community should a decision come to us.